Okay, good morning. We're here. Um, I have some tweets and an article I want to go over. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to bring Chris and Liberty on to talk about them and carry on with our regular show. I also have some videos. There's a lot going on. There's a lot I want to talk about today. So I hope we can get to at least half of it. Okay, let me find these tweets, and then I'll get started. One of them is on trans. Oh yeah, I'm kind of what is it? Fifth disappointed in what if autist. He made a post on autism that really took me by surprise, and especially considering that I think he's autistic himself, or at least neurodivergent. It's a long post, so let me just hit the highlights. Apparently he has a problem with autistic people. They get on his nerves. And yes, it is true. I know that we can get on people's nerves. I hate the current intellectual culture of autism chic, whatever that is. Are people pretending to be autistic since it looks cool? I don't know who these people are. Like no autistic person I know is pretending because it looks cool. There's an idea of autistic people being smarter, more honest, truthful, and sincere. So he's not even talking about autism. He's talking about the popular conception, like the current trendy perception of it. I honestly don't like dealing with autistic people. They don't pick up on social cues. You can't have expectations for them. Yes, you can. They don't have normal reactions to situations. So what's normal reaction? They're high-strung and not relaxed or chill. This makes them difficult to work with. They can be unintentionally hurtful and cruel. They can be good at certain topics and very intelligent. Their systematizing is really good as well as their reverence for popularity. They miss certain patterns that are obvious to me, and neurotypicals miss certain patterns that are obvious to me too. They also have poor empathy, lie, and theory of mind. What is poor theory of mind? That the whole point of theory of mind is we're working off of different conceptions of how people's minds work. So none of us have a defective theory of mind. We all have our own theory of mind. What do you mean poor theory of mind? That it doesn't match yours? That's not what theory of mind is. Ability to predict others' actions. I know neurotypical people that can't predict others' actions. They often confuse definitions for underlying realities. I hope I don't do that because I'm very particular about definitions and making sure that they match up to the underlying realities that we're talking about when we use the definitions. They get hung up on details or terminology. He does all this shit too. They often can't kiss. They often can, I guess, miss obvious truths in exchange for looking at the trees. I don't like the trend of calling all smart people autistic, etc. That's enough so far. A lot of these are stereotypes, like maybe Asperger's or like the stereotypical view. Autism is so diverse. As many autistic people as he can find that matches these points, I can find the same amount that have the opposite traits that he's criticizing. So it's too diverse to caricature like he's doing. But I have heard variations of this before against autism and against myself as an autistic person. I guess I was disappointed seeing it from somebody I admire. Like what if all his? So this is one of the things I maybe want to touch on today. And the other one, oh yeah, we were talking the other day about queer and trans and the definition of queer having changed. This is from Bell Hooks. Queer not as being about who you are having sex with, which was the definition I grew up with. That can be a dimension of it, but queer as being about the self that is at odds with everything around it and has to invent and create and find a place to speak and to thrive and to live. I'm interested that people in America feel like they have to do that and don't already have that place, because I've always managed to find it in the existing structure. But this is how you get straight queer people, because the queer doesn't mean who you're having sex with anymore. It means this thing. And Bell Hooks is one of the like woke figures that gets cited a lot. And then this is what I wanted to show, because it talks about the non-binary concept, that listing all my identities within the community is cumbersome, which yes, it seems cumbersome to me too. While labels are liberatory, I want to hear more about that, and often connect people to each other. They are also limiting at a certain point. I only use non-binary because that is the simplest, most accessible way to communicate that I don't identify being a man or a woman. I don't know what that means, but it doesn't exactly describe who I am either. Well, if you don't know, how are we supposed to know or make sense of it when you tell us you're non-binary? To describe my gender would take pages, and all of those pages would be filled with nearly nonsensical metaphors. I am stardust, I'm galaxies, I'm water flowing like salmon swimming upstream. Get real. How are we supposed to accommodate that? Are like, even if we wanted to understand it and be an ally and be supportive, what the hell am I supposed to do with that? Queer allows me to communicate that I am different, period. Everybody's different in some way. It's vague enough to allow my identity's breathing room to stay fluid, to stay me. It seems like it's stretched so thin that it's losing any kind of useful, practical meaning to a third-party observer or a third-party like participant that would want to integrate into a society, if that's even what they want. So I guess that's the point I wanted to make about queer. And I think I have one more. I'm going to skip the Israel-Palestine stuff for today. Oh, here's one for Liv. The tweet says, one says where it will come from, the other does not. Food for thought. Communism, group of international communists, from each according to his ability to each according to his needs. Social justice and equity, providing resources to people that are proportionate to what they need in order to thrive, meeting communities where they are and allocating resources and opportunities as needed to create equal outcomes. So I just want to throw it in there for extra spice. Okay, this is the article I want to talk about. It's from Nate Silver. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but it makes a very important distinction that I've noticed myself between liberalism and leftism, and he talks about the Enlightenment liberalism that we've been talking about. Let me try to find his definition. I think he does a good job of at least giving us a working definition. Liberalism was traditionally defined in the Enlightenment political tradition and how the term came to be used in a rather different way in the United States. To simplify, liberalism is a political philosophy that's centered around individual rights, equality, and it has a footnote that says not equity, the rule of law, democracy, and free market economics. So in this original traditional definition, the free market economics is already included. And yesterday, I know we talked about liberalism, like neoliberalism being liberalism fused with capitalism, but it seems like the free market part, which I presume is the capitalistic part, is already in there from the beginning. There are many flavors of liberalism that emphasize these components in different ratios. So maybe neoliberalism is just a flavor that emphasizes the capitalism part in a different ratio, running from libertarian variants to others that see a much larger role for government. In Europe, liberalism arose in opposition to a more conservative social hierarchy, usually feudal monarchies backed by incredibly powerful churches. That's the authoritarianism that I contrast liberalism with. However, in the United States, it was founded on liberal Enlightenment ideals. It appeals to classical liberalism, or in some ways appeals to American tradition. Nonetheless, left-wing American radicals and socialists began calling themselves liberal because they wanted a departure from these traditions. So there's two connotations of liberal. It can either be a synonym for left-wing, or it can be referred to European-style liberalism. And then he comes up with this. Let's see, the mainstream media almost always uses the formal definition, liberal just means left. However, in Hayek's view and his, he would return to the original definition of liberalism, which is how I use it. I even call it Enlightenment liberalism. That's because liberalism describes something distinctive. It doesn't suffice to view liberalism as a halfway point between socialism and conservatism. Then he comes up with this little triangle, and he goes on to talk about how wokeism and classical liberalism are not very compatible, and he gives very specific reasons why. Social justice's focus on group identity contrasts sharply with liberalism's individualism. That's one of my criticisms of it, is it focuses on the group over the individual, not the individual emerging from the group. Social justice, like other critical theories that emerge from the Marxist tradition, tends to be totalizing. And liberalism's focus on democracy makes it intrinsically pluralistic. So there's two tensions right there. Social justice, with its academic roots, often makes appeals to authority and expertise as opposed to entrusting individuals to make their own decisions. That's that form of authoritarianism that I call paternalism or maternalism and managerialism. That's another big point of resistance I have with social justice. People setting themselves as experts over other people. That's why, like, I'm always asking Lib, like, well, who gets to determine that? Because of this strain of social justice right here. This is the big one. Social justice has a radically more constrained view on free speech. This is what first put me at odds with social justice. The social justice intolerance for free speech that could be harmful, hateful, whatever, could spread misinformation has gained traction. It is the predominant view among college students, and it is becoming more popular in certain corners of the media and even among many mainstream Democrats. This is the reason that I fight social justice more than anything, is the free speech. It started with people telling me what pronouns I had to use. Then it started with them taking the words and twisting them to be transphobic or racist and trying to get me to not say certain things because of the way they reframed it. And it just went on from there. This is the one I worry about the most because it's so anti-American and anti-Enlightenment liberalism. He uses October 7th and the Hamas attack as the point that started to highlight the difference between the two strains of liberalism, or left liberalism and wokeism. But I would use George Floyd, because that's when me and all my friends started to see the contrast and all started finding each other. And we kept calling it classical liberalism in contrast to critical social justice or wokeness. And that happened during the George Floyd and the BLM riots. So I wanted to bring these topics up too, because it tied together a lot of the themes that we've been discussing. I think that's it for the tweets. I have a few videos to show. There's some satanic devilry afoot that's making the news, but I'm going to bring Chris and Liv on to continue with the show. Let's see. An optional green room. Well, the whole point is to like minimize the voice chat, because that's what keeps me from being able to get through the material I want to get through. Is the voice chat.
Yeah, no.
I guess you do still have access to the private chat.
Yeah, no. He was just more talking like like you send us to the back room and like me and Chris could chat with each other.
Oh, y'all could talk.
Yeah, I don't think they have that. I think honestly,
no, they don't have that option. They don't. I was saying it would be a cool feature to have, like especially some of these streams where there's like a lot more people like in like the backstage waiting. Mm-hmm. It'd be cool to like kind of I don't know. It's honestly kind of silly, to be honest. Like I've seen enough like TV shows about they're like set in comedy clubs and stuff, where like there's all this footage of like the green rooms, the people backstage, like, and like it seems like where some funniest stuff happens. It just seems like I feel like you get to know some of the people that you're talking with a little better if you could like kind of chat and stuff. I mean, it's just not streamer does not.
I mean, y'all can always chat on Discord. I don't want to get too distracted from the main topics though. So we have the autism conversation, we have the conversation on liberalism and wokeism. Yeah, we have the queer as different, not who you sleep with conversation.
The thing about the autism thing I think is funny is because, like, I think you're right. I think he is kind of autistic himself, and he's having an autistic, almost Asperger's-esque response to other autistic people.
That's how I read it. That's exactly how I read it. Like, when I first saw it, I'm like, what the fuck? You're the same. Yeah. But that happens a lot. When you get a bunch of autistic people together, because there's so many different types, those reactions.
I was about to say, like, there's
I even have them.
I was about to say, there's no like one autism, and so autistic people tend to fight amongst themselves quite often because I mean, I experienced this in my polycule because again, 3 out of 4 of us are autistic, and we're all wildly different kinds of autistic. Like,
I kind of have the theory that I think everyone's autistic. I think it really is a spectrum to a degree.
Well, it's a threshold diagnosis, so it's possible that everybody, because they have identified like up to 1,000 genes that they believe could be involved in it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure in some combination.
I think everyone's non-binary to some degree. Like.
Yeah. So it's just when I guess it crosses a certain threshold to be significant. Yeah. It becomes important.
But
I've said before, like 99% of my conflict here in the Pacific Northwest, jobs I've been fired from, conflict with coworkers, supervisors, relationships, have been with other neurodivergent people. It's not me and the neurotypicals that I'm not fitting in with or clashing with. It's me and the other neurodivergent people within environments that I'm having the conflict with. It's an population conflict. It's not between me and an out group.
In my experience, it also tends to be because I tend to mostly interact with neurodivergent people. Primarily, like most of my friends I've learned later in life have all been some degree of neurodivergent. It just seems to be.
I think that's. I don't know. It seems like that's typical from my experience with most neurodivergent people tend to gravitate towards other neurodivergent people for friends, even though it causes more conflict. I think that's normal from what I've seen.
Oh, there's some kind of music playing.
Yeah,
you stuck at the music playing. Which
I forgot to turn it off. Sorry about that. I hope it didn't interrupt anybody.
No, it doesn't. It's really mellow in the background, so it's just kind of like background noise. It's fine.
Yeah, but yeah, no, that whole like autism thing. I mean, I've noticed that there are a lot of. He goes on and talks about how like the trend of like autism's trendy now, and like it's just I just don't see it that way. I mean, I understand like you might, if you were, stupid and only looking at like TikTok and trends from like a certain perspective, it might look that way. But like, if you, I guess, look at it with any degree of neutrality, you'll understand that it's just kind of, it's more so people realizing that we have vastly and underdiagnosed neurodivergence in this country. We do have a massive problem with that.
And I think that's a good thing that there's a trend, because it means it's getting identified more and recognized more, just like with the gender stuff.
Yeah, and I think people should be like, I'm as somebody who has not been formally diagnosed, I would like to seek at least for my ADHD, I'd like a firm, definitive diagnosis on my ADHD. I'm not as concerned with.
I can't give you a professional one, but I can give you a pretty definitive one.
Oh, yeah, no, I've had
you are, because just how watching you interact with Chris.
I've had a neurologist give me, it was like some like weird fucking brain test, and it was like the part of it was taking this like whole written test, which she was like, yeah, so like this isn't a test that tests for ADHD, but like you tested like someone who has ADHD, so you should probably go get tested. And then I never did. That's one of the things that I want to get tested for, because ADHD is one of those things that like the medical help for it is like usually actual medication, whereas I mean, sure, ideally it'd be cool if I could get an autism diagnosis, but autism diagnoses are very expensive and
well, a good psychologist should be able to do both.
Well, yeah, sure. I just like,
I mean, my psychiatrist that gave me my ADHD diagnosis actually she said according to her, in her opinion, and according to the opinions of some doctors, that ADHD is just part of the autism spectrum anyway. She classifies it as an autism.
It's a complicated topic. There's a lot
of categories are very fuzzy. That's why I call it neurodivergence. But in general, autism relates to social awareness or perception. ADHD is processing, like internal processing.
Yeah, you can at least as far as it is currently, you can have both autism and ADHD as like separate diagnoses.
They call it ADHD now.
ADHD, yeah. No, that's what a lot of people do call it, and it seems to be perhaps not common, but it does seem to be that there are a lot of people who do have both.
I don't know a single person that does. Like every autistic person I work with has some kind of ADHD characteristic, and every ADHD person has some kind of autism characteristic.
You gotta wonder if it's partially if people have always been this percentage of ADHD, or if it really is a product of like the faster culture that we live in, and if it's just
there's that Silicon Valley theory where the rates in Silicon Valley have gone sky high because all the autistic people were meeting each other and marrying and having children. So there is. I'm sure it's mostly heritable. Like there's it's almost purely genetic because I think it happens prenatally.
I absolutely think it's partly genetic, but I can't help but wonder if it's partly an adaptation, an evolutionary adaptation that's just in its like mid stages, as you know, because evolution doesn't happen all at once in one generation. If it's not a kind of an adaptation to the faster world and culture we live in, information and everything comes out so much.
It might be. It's certainly adapting them to the tech world.
Yeah.
Like I mean, we just happen to be the ones that are unlucky enough to be caught in like the middle generational evolutionary step there where our brains haven't quite adapted to it all the way, but they're trying to. They're trying to catch up and trying to move faster in order to deal with all the constant stream of information. I don't know. It's just a thought I had a while back about it. I was thinking that
it might be because they're also the ones generating the new environment too. So you have the autistic people creating the computers that the new autistic people are being born into and adapting to rapidly.
Yeah,
that's a good point. That's a good point.
It's a really it's a big chicken and the egg situation.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. It's like it's really hard to know where it started. I mean, I would kind of I tend to think that ADHD people have always existed.
Oh
to some degree. I think that even going back as far as you want to go, I think there's always been like that kind of neurodivergence always been there. But I think that the way that it's gotten so prevalent is kind of like, I mean, I don't think that there's any mutation or kind of like neurodivergence type thing in our brains that is strictly there in a purely negative way. More than likely there might be some. There are definitely like diseases and stuff like that that are definitely not positive advantages, but most of their neurodivergent type things seem like they're like almost like the human genome testing for potential outcomes and stuff like that, and like creating it's almost like we're like our own genetics are experimenting on us to a degree. And I'm not trying to be conspiratorial. I'm honestly speaking like strictly in a biological sense of like that. I think our genetic kind of code is intelligent to some degree, not like a god type sense. You know what I mean? But
no, but a natural selection kind of way.
I mean, adaptation proves that basically. So
yeah,
I mean, or natural selection proves that more or less. So like I think like even though people like that have always kind of have popped up from here and there, as it's always been kind of like a one kind of potential feature of human beings that we haven't quite figured out how to deal with yet, and so because it hasn't needed to, but
they never will. I don't think it should be up to them to figure out what to do with. I think it should be up to us to figure out what to do with it.
I was talking about our genetics. I wasn't talking about like
well, you said like human beings having to deal with it.
Yeah, I just mean like the people that have it learning to deal with like, the adaptation, the evolutionary adaptation of our brains moving faster than we're used to, because that's really what it is. Like, I mean, like ADHD, like
that's what I call like. There's also giftedness, which gets mixed in too, which I think is some form of neurodivergence. But when you mix like the brain speed and stuff comes more from, I think the giftedness. But there's so many overlaps between ADHD and giftedness too.
Yeah, I never thought they were the same thing. Really,
I have the same thing. My brain moves faster than my body. That's why.
Yeah, and I mean, same. Like I don't call like my ADHD-ness like gifted, because like it very much like sure, you know what, I can read a book and consume information really fast, but you know what also I do? I like my body becomes horribly dysregulated at the drop of a hat. Like it is. I like literally feeding myself, remembering to feed myself is like
constantly. I'm always forgetting to eat.
That's not just like oh haha, it's so cute. It's like I have literally starved myself before, and it's like it's bad. It's not good.
I've done it. Yes, like physical.
I did it like 2 days ago, or 3 or 4 days ago. I can't. That's the other ADHD thing. Even with my medication, I can't keep track of time properly, and it's gotten worse as I got older too. So it's probably early dementia plus ADHD. But I'm joking. But I mean, I hope not. I hope that's not the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a few days back, I can't remember what it was, but it was like it was like I don't know, it was like sometime around 7 p.m. or something like that. It was after we'd streamed and stuff like that, and I realized that I hadn't eaten in like 2 days.
Yeah.
Like around, and it just hadn't occurred to me. Like I'd made food for Lindsay and for the baby and stuff like that, but I hadn't made food. I hadn't eaten any of it myself. I just like I'll just because I just don't feel hungry or whatever, and I'm just like my brain is thinking about other things. It's not thinking about food. It's thinking about other things that are stressing me the fuck out. So I just like
Yeah, or like drinking water. Like I have this thing where like I have to keep a gallon of water literally like in my lap or in my hands or like right next to me, basically at all times, because I will go like 12 hours.
I used to have to do that in Vegas because Vegas is such a dry climate. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had to. Nobody in Vegas pretty much didn't have a water bottle with them at all times. But at the same time, like I don't have to worry about this much here in Texas because it's so humid that
Yeah.
you're literally your body absorbs water from the air enough, so you don't have to like just constantly drink water. But yeah, I know what you mean. Exactly. It's like a constant like reminder type thing you have to like keep in your head.
And I also struggle with like executive dysfunction. So like, things like, so it's like, I'm like, oh, I really need to go to the bathroom. And then I like, oh, I need to go to the bathroom. Fuck you, body. I'm not going to the bathroom.
There's also the theory of monotropism, which is this narrow attention tunnel that once our interest gets locked into something, anything that falls outside of that tunnel, like basics, maintenance, or people around us gets deprioritized or de-emphasized in our brain. We don't even see it.
I get hyperfixated really easy on stuff. Especially. Oh God, yeah. Fucking I'll sleep for 4 hours at a time, and like not even 8 hours in a 20. Yeah, and not even like.
I never sleep for 8 hours.
Yeah,
I take little naps here and there when my body gets tired.
Yeah, and
I have to make myself sleep, and I spend more time trying to make myself go to sleep than I usually end up sleeping.
I can't make myself sleep.
I can't make myself sleep.
I won't sleep.
It would. It like. I also like. Oh God, this is also partially like an iPad kid thing though. But like I can't not have stimulation.
I have that too. Like even before computers, I had that.
Yeah. He's 10 years older than me. I'm 10 years older than you. And
I had to have like music. Music was my big one. Music or TV I always have to have something to read. Like if I'm in a doctor's office, I can't just.
Oh God!
I will read the labels on a prescription box, anything, but I have to be processing text.
Yes.
I can't play video games without like a podcast or something on. I can't like or like having YouTube playing in the background of like what I'm playing. I mean even. And that's video games. It's like the most ADHD thing you can do. I can't play. I've got the point where I can't play video. I can't focus on video games anymore. So like even that's not even an option. But like I generally, I if I'm working on anything, I have to have some other form of noise. Sleeping, I have to have some other form of noise. I can't have something. I can't have total silence, or my brain will go insane with like thinking too much to the point where
I can't meditate or do any of those like relax or meditate or.
I try.
I can't. I can't slow it down.
Yeah, I think
meditation and breathing does not work for me anyway. I wish it did.
The only time I can like cope with silence, I can like silence my brain is with like marijuana. Like that's the only thing that will get my brain to like stop going at 3,000 miles an hour. But then I'm having to like, smoke pot all the time. And it's like
pot for pot to work for me, it has to obliterate my brain. And then it makes me more anxious because I can't think straight. Because then it's like then I don't have the ability to think, so I can't do that really. Adderall it is actually helpful for me because I don't understand. I do not understand like it's like the contradictory like reaction of like it's speed. I guess it speeds up your body enough to catch up with your brain. Maybe that's what it is. I didn't think about it just now. But maybe that's why it works because like it makes me feel less anxious. I sleep better if I forget to take my medication or something like that. If I miss a couple of doses, then like I'll have a lot of trouble. I tend to get more sleep and be better regulated in general if I regularly take my Adderall at the right times.
I've tried Adderall once and it did basically nothing for me. But then I take
it takes weeks. It takes weeks before it actually starts to have an effect. Like the first few times, the first couple of times, like you take it, you might feel nothing, and then like the next couple of times, like after that, like it'll start to make you feel really like jittery. And at least I don't know. I mean, it's different for everybody, I guess. But for me personally, like the first couple of times I took it, nothing, and then the next couple of times it made me feel like jittery, like I was on cocaine or something, and I fucking hated it. It made me feel really awful. And then after I kept taking it for like another couple of weeks, and then finally, about midway through week 2, it started to like I started to get like a calm effect from it, and like then you can kind of just kind of goes from there. But once you get the dosage regulated,
Yeah.
But it's like one of the only things that actually like will like slow my brain or makes me feel like my brain is slowed down. I think it's actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think it's more like it speeds your body up so that you're
to match your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Possibly.
I mean, that's basically. I mean, it's what it does.
It's just you're just microdosing meth. Like, I can imagine actually if you like took something like meth, like it would probably have a similar effect immediately. I mean, you'd then be taking meth, so it's like don't do that. But like,
I tried. As I've said on the stream before, I tried it back in the day. I mean, it was 20 years ago. But like, I had friends that were I knew a bunch of. I knew like all the drug dealers in my town were all drag queens, and they sold meth and ecstasy, and that's what they made their money out of. And I used to be friends with those people, and I used to hang out with them. And so socially, I smoked it a few times with them, and yeah, I stayed away from it because of the fact that it did help me so much, and it scared me because of how good it made me feel. So I stayed away from it.
Yeah.
For the most part, but yeah, I can't.
Adderall's good. Adderall's good. Adderall's better.
It's safer and
it's
it's
much
regulated.
safer.
I would never, and I like the girl that like I said kind of fucked up everything in my life, and the friend of my wife's that lived with us, like that's whenever she got back, she started like getting meth, started smoking meth and stuff again. Like, and I just like I didn't even get close to it, like I it's like it smelled disgusting. Like I said, like the stuff back from 20 years ago was actually like it was stuff like you see in Breaking Bad. It was like blue stuff.
God, yeah.
And like this, she was like smoking something that was just like, it was like nasty smelling or something like that. And it was like, I told her I didn't want it in the house and shit like that. It was just cause a bunch of problems. But yeah, meth is bad. Anybody out there should never do meth. You'll never find meth that's actually like pure enough to even bother with. It has so many fucking like toxins in it. You don't even want to touch it. Trust me.
No.
I feel that way about weed these days, unless it's from like one of these like legalized states. Yeah. Like the weeds used to get here had that formaldehyde smell to it. That I used to smell occasionally.
It's a lot stronger than the dirt weed that we used to smoke.
Even the dirt weed she would get, like it was strong, I guess, because I get contact high off it, but like I can't stand smoking it, but like I get the contact high of being around it. But had that nasty smell to it that like the stuff from like at least like the stuff from Vegas, it's like legal, like the bright green shit they sell in those places, man. Like that stuff it smells good. It smells like fucking like I don't know, it smells like an incense or something like that.
Yeah, no, it smells so much better than even like just like a couple of years ago when I was back in Memphis and we would be getting like actual flour. It was just kind of shit. Also, I wasn't like buying like expensive stuff, so that may have factored into it. But still, I mean. It just all kind of smelled bad and none of it smelled good. But like up here, like I walk into like a dispensary and it smells delicious. Like it definitely still smells like weed, but it smells like flowery weed.
I had this crazy Uber driver once during the pandemic that I have no idea why, because like I don't know if it was because I'd been around her and maybe I smell like weed or something like that possibly from it, but I don't see how I could smell like much like it. But like as soon as I got in the car, he started ranting at me about like, you smoke that pot, man? You don't smoke that pot, do you? Because that's the pot around here. I'm telling you.
This is in Texas?
Yeah, this is in Texas. He's like, the pot around here is like toxic, man. Don't touch the pot around here. The pot around here is all covered with this. I think he was just schizophrenic or something, but it stuck with me nonetheless. I mean, I wasn't smoking it anyway, but like I remember thinking like, man, that's probably what's wrong with her. She's probably it's probably all the weed here is probably all toxic as fuck.
Chemicals as fuck, yeah, shit.
Because like she would smoke the meth and the weed and together into like the paranoia.
Oh God! No!
Would turn her into a narcissism monster. So.
Yeah. Though I will say there is I think a value in smoking weed and drinking alcohol at the same time. All right, that
puts me to sleep.
Oh, I love it.
Puts me to sleep. I mean, alcohol. I mean, I don't need the weed though for that. I just use that. It's the only reason I drink alcohol. I don't like alcohol. I
don't either. Since I started smoking weed, I completely lost my taste for alcohol.
Well,
It doesn't
I
even
still
affect me the same way.
I just
I
like
like alcohol.
we just makes me feel sick, so I can't do it. But like the alcohol, I don't like it. I don't enjoy the way it feels, but it does. It has two effects that I need occasionally, which it kills my back pain or whatever pain I'm having,
Yeah.
and it will let me sleep. And that's the only reason I ever drink ever. And I don't drink a lot. It's like I take like 2 shots. I like
Yeah,
take two
yeah,
shots or something. I don't drink like drinks. You know, I
yeah.
don't drink beer. I don't understand people that drink beer anymore. Like, especially since I got the stomach surgery thing, like whenever you can't hold much in your stomach, like beer is like the most useless thing in the world because
Yeah.
you can't even drink
You
enough of
can't
it.
even.
It doesn't taste that good, and like I mean, even the best beer doesn't taste that good, and it doesn't like, and you can't, I can only drink like a fourth of a beer before like my stomach is full. So,
Yeah,
uh,
I don't really like beer. I do like those what are they called? Like wine coolers and shit like that. Those I mean that's just like fucking candy though.
we used to get Boone's Farm sangria back in the
Oh,
day.
Boone's Farm, yeah, Strawberry Hill and Thunderbird.
The Boone's Farm sangria, man, that shit was
Oh God.
My shit was Seagram's. I don't even know if they fucking have them up here. I think they do. But Seagram's, oh god, those are so good.
It's like the Seagram's version what's that stuff? Fuck. I can't remember what it's called. It was the very first Zima, the very first alcohol I ever had.
Oh
Zima.
God.
Smirnoff Ice.
Yeah.
Like Smirnoff Ice. Like that. Is it that kind of thing?
Smirnoff Ice, yeah, it's just like Smirnoff Ice. I actually like White Claws. I understand that like whatever. Oh, white trash. You just like White Claws, but like they taste good.
I mean, no, I don't think it's white trash. I never thought it was white trash.
Oh,
I don't like the way they taste it very much, but yeah, I don't like the taste of any of those kind of like Four Loko, any of that shit anymore.
it's a fizzy alcohol. I like it.
No, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it.
No,
I
I
don't
know.
I don't like the taste of most alcoholic things. If I
That's
drink
fair.
something, it's going to be the strongest thing I can take for
Yeah.
the cheapest amount of money, so
Yep.
that I don't drink very much of it. I mean,
Mhm.
seriously, like if I
Yeah.
buy whiskey,
No. Yeah.
I buy 100 proof Evan Williams because it's pretty cheap and it doesn't taste terrible and you can take a shot of it and it doesn't like make you choke or anything.
Yeah.
And that that 1 or 2 shots will allow me to sleep. That's the
Yeah.
only thing I don't ever drink outside of that. I used to drink gin some too because gin
Gin's
can be
okay.
it's just I get sick of it after a while.
Yeah.
It's just making me kind of feel
I really like god the shittiest of all whiskeys, fucking Fireball.
Oh yeah, I remember Fireball.
Fireball's
It's too
okay.
sweet for me, but I remember it.
it's got red hots
really
actually.
good.
So my thing with Fireball is I love you just get Fireball and off-brand cola, and the cola will like cut down on the cinnamon taste enough to where it's like not too strong, and it's actually really good.
I've done it before. There's also a peanut butter whiskey that it's called Screwball. That's it doesn't not with you don't want to mix it with it. You can mix it with milk though. You mix the peanut butter whiskey with milk, and it actually makes a very it doesn't even taste like whiskey anymore. It kind of has kind of similar to like an Irish cream kind of flavor, but with a peanut butter taste.
Okay, that does
Very
kind
nice actually. Yeah. I haven't done that in a while. Like I during the pandemic, during like when everything got really bad, and I went through it. I was like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna learn to drink then. Since like I seriously, I tried to teach myself how to like whiskey and shit like that, and scotch and stuff like that. I gained an appreciation for it. I think whiskey, especially in scotch, are very interesting because every single distillery, no matter how many different ones you try, they're all different. You know, like vodka, I can't really tell the difference between 2 kinds of vodka. I don't care if it's
can't.
Or cheap vodka that all has like this burning rot gut kind of like feeling to me.
Just mix it with lemonade and drink. That's what
gins and whiskey and scotches like all have like they're all a little bit different in a way that's like really really interesting to me. Even though I don't like it that much, but I still I gain an appreciation for it. But I just don't enjoy it really, unfortunately. So
yeah,
there's a YouTube channel I still watch though, sometimes called Whiskey Tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another one called How to Drink that are both really good channels that are like just kind of entertaining things about alcohol. But I'm more intellectually interested in alcohol than I am at the product.
Yeah, like I mean, I drink sometimes. I think I'm at the point where like I drink like maybe once a week, if that, and not even.
That's what I try to keep it. I keep it down to like 2 or 3 times. I try not to like go to sleep like that more than 2 or 3 times a week because like I don't like the. I had it. My father's father. Died of alcoholism.
Yeah.
He literally died on their couch. My dad was 8 from he drank himself to death. So like that's a scary thought in my mind. Like of like just like I just my whole life I've been like ask you
Yeah.
about both. But,
No, that's and just broadly, like for me, I know that I am very dependent on uh, a number of substances, and I just it irritates me to no end, like the my dependence on nicotine. That so like I'm just like I don't want to be dependent on anything else. Look, I'm already dependent on nicotine, and I fucking hate it. I don't want to be dependent on literally anything else because it just makes me feel like shit.
nicotine, with me and nicotine, I can quit so easily, but I always end up smoking again somehow.
Yeah.
And like like the only reason I started smoking again this time, I was cleaning up and I found half a pack of cigarettes on my floor.
Mhm.
And so I was like, well, I'm not going to waste these.
Ha 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 ha. Yeah, no, that's how the nicotine gets you.
Plus my stress and anxiety have been very high.
Yeah,
so,
that's
I mean,
yeah.
whenever I'm not stressed, I don't even have the desire to smoke. But whenever I'm stressed, it's like there's something in my brain that has associated stress with smoking, and it's pretty bad. I wish I could get rid of that, but anyway.
Yeah.
But what was the next tweet after the ADHD? I mean the autism one. What was the one after that, Jeff? I forget now.
Oh, the one about queer being different, not who you have sex with.
I mean, whatever. I mean,
and about non-binary being like this vague gender that they can't express, and stardust and flowing water and shit.
I will say, Jeff, they did explain to you what it was though. They said that they prefer to be called non-binary. Like their whole explanation of gender is like their own individual thing, but like they're like, yeah, but just call me non-binary. That's
I don't understand what that. There's no referent behind it to me, and they couldn't even provide one. That's like some tribesman saying, "Call me." That okay, I can call you that, but it has no meaning for me. It's not going to be a genuine.
Well, it doesn't need to. You don't have to have that meaning. That's kind of the point.
Yeah, it shuts understanding. So if I want to get to know this person or try to understand them at all, I can perform it transactionally. But I can't use it to get to know them as a person. And I would rather get to know someone as a person than just coexist and have this transactional performative relationship with them.
Yeah, because like even with you, I mean, I think of you as you. Yeah. I don't think of you as like that.
That's fine.
Like,
yeah,
I don't think of you as like on Discord. Like you call yourself you have a joke thing about transgender thing. I don't think of you as like that transgender guy.
Yeah.
I just think of you as you. I mean, even though I may not know your real name or anything like that, and I may not know like the kind of stuff like that. I may know any like personal details, but I think of you as an individual person that is separate from all that identity stuff. That's the part about all that identity stuff that gets to me. It's just like I don't understand like why people want to categorize themselves. I don't know why people want that.
If you're gonna ask something of me, I have the right to understand what you're asking before I do it.
Yeah,
like I'm just not gonna have you ask me something I don't understand and just do it. And non-binary carries no meaning. Like everybody's non-binary. I don't know what people are telling me when I'm non-binary. Okay, that's nice. You look like a woman. You look like a man.
Gendered and like in Stardust and stuff like that. Like it's still like that when people say like that. It feels like trolling, whether they mean it like that or not. It really sounds.
I'm not going to sit here and like defend this specific person because I think this specific person is like honestly a little wacky. A little eccentric, gives off crazy cat lady vibes.
If it's a lady,
they're non-binary, but I'm saying the stereotype of like crazy cat lady,
crazy non-binary vibes.
Yeah, there you go.
Crazy cat non-binary vibes.
There we go. Yeah, there we go.
Crazy
cat person
vibe. Crazy cat
person vibes. Yeah. And that's fine. I mean, whatever. I know plenty of people like that, and yeah, I mean, I know plenty of people like that in regards to a number of topics, not just gender, but like sometimes I know plenty of kind of little wacky witchy people, and whatever.
We know lots of conspiracy theorists, and like I know Jeff considers me.
I know a ton. I'm from the South. I know a ton of crazy people. Well, we all are. Hey, Cascadian, just crazy person vibes. And then there was the thing about like being at odds with everything around you and having to invent and create and find a place to speak and thrive and live. That seemed odd to me. Like I'm all for niche building. That's what I do too, because I don't fit into most environments and I have to find the ones that I fit in with and or create my own.
I will
But
say
that's different than
very much-
internalizing this sense of difference that's so intense that I'm at odds with everything around me.
It gives this should have been written in America in the 1950s, not today. Like if this had been written in like America in the 1950s, I could be like, oh, okay, yeah, I understand what this person.
Written in the 1950s, they would have.
They seem to be working off of a 50s paradigm. Like a lot of how they think America is seems to be regressive to me.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree. I mean,
Like
I'm not saying we're like perfect or anything.
I think they think we're living under the same oppressive gender roles as in the 50s. I think they think the level of racism is the same as it was in the 50s. Like they are living in the 50s more than any of the people that criticize.
I think they think that just because there are people who admittedly do have power who want to reinforce the social roles of the 1950s, that means that we are living in that, and we just
Matt Walsh
aren't.
Who? Like, who?
I'm Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House.
What's he gonna do? I mean, good luck, Mike. But what's he gonna do? Like there's a difference between someone's personal beliefs and what they're actually able to accomplish.
No. I know what. Well, yes, but what I'm saying is Mike Johnson's political beliefs and his political aspirations are explicitly those kinds of things, and while he may not be able to get all of them done, it is still at least disconcerting that somebody is like 2 steps away from the president and has those.
What are you worried about him doing or being able to do? Because he doesn't. He's from my district back home, by the way. He doesn't bother me at all. I don't take him. I don't think he's gonna have the power to pull off whatever crazy retrograde.
I don't think. As of right now, he obviously doesn't have that power, but he's also the Speaker of the House, who is ostensibly one of the most powerful people in the country.
Well, what are you worried about him doing? Trump couldn't even pull off all the stuff he was trying to do.
Well, that's because Trump is like an idiot, and Mike Johnson is more crazy than an idiot.
I don't know.
I personally, like someone that works in mental health, I don't think he's crazy. I think he's
not crazy. No. He's sorry. He's a fucking Christian nationalist. Is what I'm getting at. He is pretty explicitly a Christian nationalist, which I don't believe that many Christian nationalists are normal, sane kinds of people. I guess crazy might be too blasé of a phrase to throw around, but I don't think that you can point at Christian nationalists and say like,
what are you worried about him doing? Not respecting the boundary between church and state?
Well, I mean, that's one of the things. I mean, do you want me to like start pulling up all of the?
No, just give me one thing you're worried about him doing.
I don't know much about
keeps you up at night in fear that Mike Johnson might implement here in America.
He absolutely would be okay with.
Not the one you would okay with, but one thing you actually fear that he would be able to do and would do.
Reverse or push for the outlawing of gay marriage, not just like, you know.
Well, you have the Respect for Marriage Act and Obergefell to get around. So what is he going to do?
He's the Speaker of the House. He could get.
But what are you like? Lay out the scenario that has you worried.
Well, I mean, okay. So we have a conservative Supreme Court, right? You agree? We have a conservative majority Supreme Court.
Well,
right?
there is definitely one more conservative than there is. I mean,
I see them as independent, but. Okay.
I mean, there's at least 3 of them that are definitely on the conservative side. There's 3 that are definitely on the liberal side. One that's kind of in between, but still.
I mean, they also overturned Roe v. Wade, which any of this it
was bad law to begin with. So that's
sure, but it's not a good thing though that it was overturned because.
But getting back to Mike Johnson.
Sure. Yeah, Mike Johnson absolutely would push for things that would outlaw gay marriage and push for
so far. And where is he going to get the support for this?
From the GOP.
Like they just ousted what's his face He's not exactly in the most secure position.
Well, no, I'm aware he's not in the most secure position. What I'm saying, though, is that he is a person who has political aspirations that are counter to a good, progressive, liberal society, and even if he weren't, he would not be able to get everything that he so desired. There are things that he does want that are possibly achievable.
You said outlawing gay marriage, so that
Yeah.
how are we going to do that?
Most of the things he could actually accomplish would be like budgetary type things in certain bills and stuff like that. Like, I mean, like he could.
That's in like a ideal current situation. This is not accounting for things getting any worse. Like in 2024, the Republicans could sweep the fucking Democrats, and then the GOP can do whatever
then
they
it wouldn't just
want.
be Mike Johnson you'd be worried about. It would be a Republican majority.
I mean, Trump had a majority Republican Congress.
Right. He had all three branches and still didn't pull off.
Did nothing. I mean, like, it's in the same thing. Democrats.
Oh,
Democrats,
yes, but I'm not talking. 2024 isn't like. I don't think 2024. We're not at risk of it being like, you know, whatever. 211 to 210 in favor of Republicans. Like 2024, we have a real danger of it being like, you know, 300 to 88 in favor of Republicans, which is
they still won't do anything though, because the thing is they don't.
And they have to get elected. Like the red wave has to happen first.
Sure.
Cascadian, how are they planning to do this? And that's quite a little mix you have in there, throwing Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro with the Groypers.
Yeah,
the
are a different problem entirely, but they're not
the thing they share in common is the desire to enforce strict gender norms. I'm not sure if Ben Shapiro
law. What specific laws would?
Well, yeah, and Matt Walsh absolutely wants to do. Wait, do you disagree that Matt Walsh wants?
Yeah, no,
I'm interested in. I'm a pragmatist. I'm interested in the practical details. Like what is he playing? Like what is he going?
These are all propagandists, anyways. Like they're not like, you know, legal.
And why are you worried about?
Because they're propagandists, and propaganda doesn't have zero effect, Jeff.
Well, they don't seem to be very successful because I don't see any of these laws being pushed through to enforce gender norms. I don't even know what that would like. Force all women to wear skirts. What?
I mean,
what is this agenda? What would it even look like?
Sharia law, basically, which all the liberals are, I guess, like now, because like the Palestinians are all for that. So I mean, I don't even know. Like, I mean, it seems so.
This seems like more propaganda than what they're actually trying to do, because it's very vague. None of it's specific. It's just getting me to think this negative thing about these people.
I don't know much about Mike Johnson, but I don't like what I know about him either. I don't give a shit. I mean, I don't like any of the mainstream Republicans. They all suck. All the mainstream politicians, period, suck. But still, I mean, I get what you're saying, but like,
I don't have a problem with using Christian ethics to derive morality. I think it's one of the better moral systems out there.
Do you think that you necessarily must use Christian ethics to derive morality?
No, I wouldn't necessarily oppose it, depending on the specific bill or law.
Wait,
and Christian ethics is also a very broad thing. It
is. But wait, hang on.
But I'm still waiting on specifics of how they want to enforce these strict norms.
Hang on. Though I do want to say, you said you would support the use of Christian ethics to derive morality.
I said I wouldn't necessarily oppose it, depending on the specific bill.
Yeah, depending on
okay.
The fact that it was derived from Christian ethics would not be reason alone enough.
Oh, okay. Yes, that is an acceptable position. I'm not gonna fucking fight you on that. Because it must be like this, and yeah, like I was about to say, if there was a law that said you have to be a Christian, you would oppose that. Obviously,
yes, because of freedom of religion and separation of church and state. Those are Enlightenment, liberal Americans.
Most Christian nationalists don't think that though. So, like, what Cascadian
are nuts. They're crazy people. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't take them seriously. I don't take them seriously more than I take
them. You may not take them seriously. They're a big voting bloc for the GOP.
I don't think they're big enough to have the effect that y'all seem to be worried about they're going to have. I just don't. I look at Nick Fuentes and his Groypers and I laugh.
Well, Nick Fuentes isn't the same thing.
I don't think they're going to mobilize the political will to carry out their craziness. And maybe I'm naive, but I just have more faith in American people than that.
I hope they wouldn't, but I mean, the thing is, you don't technically need a majority to win in American politics. You agree with that, right?
But what are you worried about? I haven't seen them get close to whatever it is you do need.
What?
Like whatever it is they need, whether it's a majority or less than a majority, I haven't seen them get close to that. So I still don't know what you're worried about. Even as a minority, I don't know what you're worried about them doing.
Okay. So there are a number of things that Republicans can do to make life worse for Americans broadly. I'm not even just talking about, the minorities that they, shit talk all the time. I'm talking about just Americans broadly, because, and this goes back to, I think, sort of Democrats also have this similar issue. The difference is that good things can happen under Democrats. For instance,
well, this is your opinion. Like, make life worse is your opinion.
So for instance, broadly,
but I'm still waiting for specifics. We've been on this for like 15 minutes now.
Being pro, union, pro worker, it is antithetical to the GOP position. Now, I would also agree. I think it's antithetical to Democrat positions. However, you will find pro labor union, pro worker Democrats. You won't find that amongst Republicans, because well, okay, I guess
so maybe it's not fair to ask this of you, because it was Cascadian that brought it up. Gender norms. That's what I'm wanting examples of. He's worried that I don't know if he's worried, but he stated that there's these Christian nationalists and Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh.
His specific comment is Matt Walsh, Ben Shapiro, Christian nationalists, Groypers, and third positionists want to enforce strict gender.
Want to enforce. That's there's you have to get from want to enforce to attempting to enforce in a realistic way.
Because being a third positionist sounds super kinky,
super kinky. Yeah, no, third positionists are just I mean, it's just fascists. That's
I know what I mean. I'm joking.
Yeah. Not communism, not liberalism.
No,
it's not.
No one has examples of these gender norm laws or even the gay rights law. Then I'm ready to move on. Unless there's another point any of you want to make.
No, I mean I don't think they have it. I mean, like, the closest they're getting is maybe something these anti-dragon kids laws kind of thing.
I mean,
because of the sexualization. If they could find a way to do it without sexualizing, I think people would have less problem with it. But they can't seem to be able to do that, and then you have the body of queer theory.
Cascadian didn't mention Michael Knowles,
that makes even me nervous.
Is I believe an oversight. Michael Knowles is, of the people on that list.
He is
probably the scarier.
He's the least consequential of all of them too. He's the least influential and the least consequential.
I haven't heard his name since he made that one comment. Like, I've never seen it pop up anywhere.
He also spoke at CPAC, which is more than Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro and the Groypers do. That's true, but like he's definitely influential as far as the GOP is concerned. I think Matt Walsh and like Ben Shapiro are probably more influential in a sort of broader cultural sense. That's true. But Michael Knowles,
those are the only ones that.
Well, finally, I'm going to get my answer.
Hey, Cascadian, how's it going, man? I haven't seen you in a minute.
Oh, it's going well. I mean, last night I was listening to David Patrick Harry and Rachel Wilson talk about this subject, about how secular people, because they were basically doing a video responding to James Lindsay and talking about how James Lindsay's idea of classical liberalism.
I started to watch that, but then like when I clicked onto it, it was just silence for so long, and so I clicked back off of it and I forgot about it.
Do you have a link for it?
Yes, I will.
It's probably my watch list too, because like I clicked on it at one point because it was like I didn't know that Rachel Wilson was involved in it, but I saw that there was like something responding to James Lindsay.
I wonder if James would give me a copyright strike.
I think James honestly, I mean, like, he might be crazy in his own ways, but he seems really cool.
Speaking of autism,
I like James Lee. Something like I have a respect for his intellect and the way he thinks about things, but then he goes into crazy conspiracy
Yes,
theories.
same exact thing. Yes, same thing.
It was
Just the
just
rabbit
funny
hole.
hearing. It was just funny hearing David and Rachel actually agree with critical theorists, saying that when critical theorists were talking about flaws within liberalism, they said, "Oh well, that those critical theorists were actually making very good points that James Lindsay himself can't understand."
Wait, what were they defending the critical theorist on?
They weren't necessarily defending them; they were just agreeing with some of their points.
Oh, like what? Which ones?
You just have to listen to the video. I sent it in the private chat.
Oh, okay. Let me grab it.
Yeah,
Do you know what these this like gender norm agenda is? What are some of the things they're proposing?
No, I haven't been keen on that or up on all that stuff.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I can just I guess describe that they're definitely anti queer people broadly. All of those groups are broadly anti queer people. Like I can't say this for certain, but I can say this as my opinion. Groypers, at least, and a number of Christian nationalists that I know, a number of third positionists I know, would, like, if they were stuck in a room with a queer person and a gun, they would shoot the queer person if they could get away with it. If they weren't such cowards, so assuming that they weren't cowards, they are cowards though. So thankfully, we don't have much to interpersonally fear from them. However, ideologically, they would want to do that. In my experience,
that's not exactly a policy proposal, but okay.
I think they think that about themselves too. I don't think they couldn't really, just because like the coward part, maybe like what you're saying, but I think it's more than just being cowards. I think like if they really came down to it, they actually talked to that person for 5 seconds, they would lose that entirely. Because most of the time that is the case. I mean,
I don't mind that they don't shoot the queer person. I'm not going to hold it against him as a coward.
Yeah, that's true.
No. My issue with it is like ideologically, that's what they ought to do, because that's ideologically what they.
Well, I was asking for a specific policy proposal, but I can tell I'm not going to get them, so we can move on to the next thing. I had a video. I don't know if you heard about the satanic display in the Iowa State Capitol.
I saw that, and like I thought it was so stupid. I just
Matt Walsh came out and did a thing, and I like Matt, but we are definitely on opposite sides on this thing. And when I watched his thing against Satanism,
he's a Christian nationalist. Why? Of course. What do you think? What were you expecting, though? He's a Christian nationalist.
I know this is highlighting where we diverge in major ways. Like, I wouldn't trust freedom of religion under him, or even separation of church and state.
He's explicitly talked about how he doesn't like the whole idea of separation of church and state. So yeah,
No, yeah, he. I think if I'm not mistaken, he has more than once referred to himself as a something like some sort of authoritarian. Like his actual political position is something akin to a fascist.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, I don't want him in power. I like him, but I don't want him in power.
Yeah, I like him only for his deadpan. I think his deadpan.
I end up agreeing with him on like 90% of the topics, but this is not one of them.
As far as comedy is concerned, I think Matt Walsh is either intentionally or unintentionally probably one of the funniest conservatives.
He's an entertainer. I consider him an entertainer. He's one of my favorite entertainers.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can really say about him. He's definitely office rocker in a lot of things, but he's got a good deadpan that better than anybody that's not currently working on like SNL or anything. That's for sure. So
I mean, honestly, that's kind of a
I don't consider him office rocker. His beliefs make sense coming from his point of view.
From his perspective.
Yeah, sure, they make sense.
He doesn't think anything crazy.
I mean, sure, but like also the Nazis' positions quote unquote made sense. It doesn't mean that they're not fucking nuts.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's it. There's been very. I mean, like it's something that I if you're, I can't remember who said this once. I saw it's a thing that they were not speaking in favor of Nazis at all. They were saying, but if your goal if you're in control of if you're in control of Germany, and your goal is to gather the most resources for your country, and like at the expense of all other countries and all other like things like that, like everything the Nazis did made sense. It's like from a purely survival or pragmatic standpoint,
at least from their perspective. Obviously, like objectively, their survival wasn't actually at risk. But
no, it wasn't. But still, if you were in a strict survivalist mentality, and you were trying to secure the most number of resources for your country at the expense of anything else, and that's all you care about, then it would make sense. It doesn't make it less evil, but I mean, it does make sense. It's just like
I don't want to still man the Nazis too much on here.
I'm not still manning them.
Their beliefs are way crazier than anything I've heard out of Matt Walsh so far. And that's the only.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the thing is they were like hardcore nationalists.
I want to get to this video. I want to get to this video. The Nazis don't interest me as much.
Yeah, they are kind of boring.
A satanic temple has set up a display inside the Iowa State House. It's the holiday season, and even secular government buildings display decorations for holidays that are rooted in religion, like Christmas trees and menorahs. For 14 days, the Satanic Temple has erected a display alongside these major religious symbols inside the rotunda of the Iowa State Capitol.
That's awesome,
Reeves, co-founder of the Satanic Temple, spoke to KCCI.
We're going to really relish the opportunity to be represented in a public forum. We don't have a church on every street corner.
Though the temple went through the correct administrative channels to present in the rotunda, the display is getting pushback.
One, I hope people realize spiritual warfare is real, that there are evil, satanic forces that are trying to infiltrate our state.
Iowa resident Shelley Flockhart said she was shocked to see the altar at the Capitol, so she organized a group to pray near the rotunda's Christmas tree. Greaves says no one is being forced to interact with the Satanic Temple's display.
My feeling is that if people don't like our displays in public forums, they don't have to engage with them. They don't have to view them.
It's a very dark, evil force.
People don't know that Christmas trees are
and I truly hope people know how to handle that.
The U.S. Department of Justice says religious liberty is enshrined in the text of our Constitution. It's in the First Amendment, where the writers of the Constitution protected the practice of all faiths by stating, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. The Satanic Temple is a federally recognized religion that does not actually believe in the existence of Satan or the supernatural. Unlike another religious organization, the Church of Satan. The Massachusetts-based tax-exempt temple says its mission is to encourage benevolence and empathy, reject tyrannical authority, advocate practical common sense, oppose injustice, and undertake noble pursuits. For Inside Edition Digital, I'm TC Newman.
Based.
Okay, there's so much to unpack in this video. First,
supernatural stuff.
First, I need to make a correction. She said, unlike the Church of Satan. That is not true. The Church of Satan are also non-theistic. They don't believe in an actual Satan. So she's incorrect there. I want to show a companion video real quick.
Okay. I just think it's hilarious that she doesn't know that they're praying near the Christmas tree, which is a solstice tree by nature, which is a pagan symbol. Like they used to, the reason we have lights at the Christmas tree is they used to set them on fire.
It's like, well, how did it get there? So it's interesting. I heard this, and then I was like, well, how did it get there? Is that even a religion? And lo and behold, the Trump administration gave them approval to be under the IRS as a religion. So that gave them the legal ability to potentially do it. So I don't know what the legislature, how they analyzed it, but it very well may be because of that ruling under Donald Trump that they may have had a legal leg to stand on. My view would be that's not a religion that the founding fathers were trying to create. But I do think that IRS ruling, I was really surprised to see that they did that.
I mean, Trump seems more like a Satanist to me than he does like anything else.
It doesn't have to be a religion the founding fathers were trying to create. That's not a qualification for freedom of religion.
And
I don't know that.
To steelman their argument, nuh-uh, you dumb Satanist.
I honestly don't know how I feel about the display. I do know that they originally wanted to use a goat skull, and the Capitol told them no, so they had to change to that stupid-looking disco ball skull, which I hate.
It's awesome. It looks like a freaking futuristic robot goat.
It looks gay. It looks artsy.
looks
It
gay.
doesn't
Good.
carry like the gravity it would carry if it were an actual goat skull. or
It's not
something
like the good
that.
old classic Baphomet, right?
Right. Exactly. Yes.
It's a
but I don't.
commercialified Baphomet.
There's not a there's solstice and stuff, which is not necessarily satanic, but there's not a specifically Christmassy satanic holiday that I'm aware of. So it seems antagonistic and a little disrespectful to have. Like they're definitely trolling with it. And I don't know how I feel
it's
about
funny because they see the 10 Commandments in there, and then the Christians, it's like, oh, we can have a menorah here. It's totally not offensive, even though these guys don't like us, actually. But then, a Baphomet or a devil statue, oh my gosh, that's just taking it too far.
Yeah.
But it's the Christmas, it's the holiday theme. If they wanted to do it like year round or another part of the year, but it's doing it in the middle of a holiday that has Hanukkah, has Christmas, has Kwanzaa, has whatever other holidays.
At least the menorah is actually connected to the Jewish religion as opposed to the Christmas tree, which is absolutely not. It's like, they're completely
on the one hand, I'm glad people are getting exposed to Satanism as a legitimate religion. On the other hand, I'm not sure I support them doing it in the middle of a holiday like Christmas.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I've always found
and use a real goat skull.
The stunts that they pull broadly tend to
make
not
it
just
silly.
They're just very ineffective and don't actually.
They're a troll group.
It's very Discordian, and I'm very I have a real strong Discordian streak through myself, so I do see both your points. I don't disagree with you, but I do see I think that taking the piss out of Christmas as a holiday isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world either. But it's like one little one thing. It's not like they're on every corner like with something Satanist, like it's not like everywhere there's a Christian Christmas symbol there's something like Satanist there next to it. It's not like it's like one little tiny thing. I mean, of course, but they're desperate to find anything to make news about. So
like why even that one little thing? All it does is make me want to defend Christmas even more against it.
Really? All right.
Would they have had the same reaction though if it were Jack Skellington or Beetlejuice?
Yeah, because people used to tell me.
I was going to say, evangelicals are fucking crazy. That's why.
Well, I hope it would be Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is literally like a pedophile.
Yeah. But I don't
understand how it's not so weird that they did a children's cartoon about Beetlejuice.
Well, that's the thing. I saw the children's cartoon before I saw the movie.
Oh, God. Oh, hey. Actually, okay. So, I'll leave this on this topic, and I'll bring us on to another topic later once we get there.
Well, what's the topic?
It was the one tweet you went over, the communism thing, I guess.
Oh, liberalism and the little meme.
And I wanted to go back and reference our conversation yesterday and perhaps see if I can get your genuine question answered.
Oh yeah, well you pretty much answered it last night, but yeah, we can go over it. Let me pull it up real quick to refresh everybody.
This one, yeah. Which I mean, I guess aren't they? It's the same thing, right? Like that's the main,
well, that's I think they are.
Well,
social justice, equity, communism. Yeah, I think they are.
Sure. Yeah. The from each. Yeah. Sure. That's. I mean, social justice. Many social justice movements have been very influenced by a lot of communist thinkers.
I'm communist because I don't think it's a form of liberalism, and I don't think it's American. Well, and I want to keep American liberalism.
But that's the thing. It's like that video that I sent you in the private chat. That's actually kind of like referencing a lot of your own views, Jeff, and they're very critical of it because they say that a lot of your views don't really have like a very strong foundation. And if, like, say, for example, if the voters want socialism, the voters are going to get socialism. If the voters want this, they're going to get this. I mean, because that is like kind of where
but that is part of liberalism. That's also why we have all the checks and balances.
Yeah, that's I mean,
and someday the voters may hack liberalism and turn into something else. But my role is to fight that.
I don't think I wouldn't describe it as so much hacking as it would just be a progression of systems. But I think
a regression.
But I think
interesting
that's
to hear
how.
I was just going to say really quick, Jeff, it'd be interesting to hear your commentary on that video, because there's no footage of James Lindsay himself in that video. It's just mostly...
it's just them. Let's see, Church of Eternal Logos.
Yeah, it's just mostly David and Rachel talking.
Oh, that's David Harry's channel?
Yeah, Church of the Eternal Logos.
It's an hour and a half. I can take a look at it and maybe pull out some clips.
You only really need to cover like maybe a half hour of it, or maybe 20 minutes of it, and you'll pretty much kind of get
I'll put on my watch list today, and if I see some clips I could pull out, I'll feature them tomorrow.
Yeah, you can just timestamp them.
Now we can watch on Discord after later tonight.
Yeah, we can do that.
But I did want to say, so yesterday I was I'd mentioned that I had recently gotten a new job, which I'm actually starting on Monday. Yay! I'm happy. They finally emailed me back, and like
capitalism.
Yeah. But like, and Joshua Jones, who is, I mean, stupid.
He's our favorite troll. He's one of our favorite trolls.
He had his own little snark bit, but Jeff also had a snark bit where he was like, "Oh, why would you?" It was snarky. I do believe you when you say it was a genuine question, but it was definitely framed very snarkily. You were like, "Oh, well, why would you get a job?" And I mean, I like having a roof over my head, and I like having food in my belly, and in America,
but if you're going to be anti-capitalist, why don't you find some anti-capitalist way to provide all of that? Like live what you believe.
Well, because I can't.
There were anti-capitalist businesses.
Maybe anti-capitalism is not the position to take then. If you can't even live it.
Well, that's because of capitalism. That's because capitalism is all-encompassing in America.
But capitalism is capitalism is giving you the roof over your head that you say you want.
No. Hang on. No. People are giving me the roof over my head.
Your job, whatever. Your food. I'm using
money to buy the roof over my head, to buy the food.
The free market.
The food, sure, a market. Markets aren't capitalism, though. Markets have existed before capitalism, and they'll exist after capitalism.
Yeah, they were pre-capitalist.
Let's talk about the distinction between capitalism and the free market, because the version I heard was capitalism was a concept created by Marx to kind of frame the free market a certain way. But I have no problem calling it market instead of capitalism.
I don't know, because like Adam Smith was very critical of like the idea of the invisible hand, because it started with Adam Smith, then it continued with David Ricardo, and then Marx was just like
Marx was a critic of capitalism. That's his whole
Marx
thing.
Was just kind of like the final stage of like those writers. So he was kind of like the third. Yeah. I don't want to use a word wrong like synchronization, but Marx just kind of like is an amalgamation of what Adam Smith and David Ricardo were writing, and he was just kind of like the next step forward.
And also, if you go back far enough, if you connected to Hegel, and even
Hegel was very influential with Marx, but like again, Jeff, you understand that markets existed before capitalism? Like 6,000 years ago, there were markets. You know that, right?
Yes.
That.
So how is that not capitalism? What makes capitalism different from just a market?
Commodity production.
Did they not have commodity production 6,000 years ago?
The commodity production's a big part of capitalism. So
not in the same way that capitalism does commodity production.
Right, because they use slaves.
Well, yeah, actually, unironically, and Marx even talks about this, that the different sort of economics you had. Like he breaks it into like, I don't necessarily like his categories, but he talks about basically ancient economics, slave economics, feudal economics, capitalist economics. And like ancient economics is like, oh, we're living in a small village. I'm the shoemaker. I I make all the shoes, you're the potato farmer, you do the potatoes, that kind of thing. And then we just kind of all pool together our resources and distribute them because we're all living in this sort of community together and stuff like that. And then you had sort of slave economics, and it's not like these aren't like fully entirely separate things. You definitely had slaves in ancient you had slaves in capitalist economics, in feudal economics. You had they're not entirely fully distinct. They're just
So you're not opposed to markets then, just capitalism?
No. Yeah, I'm not opposed to markets. Markets are fine. Markets seem to just be the way that humans
it's the natural way. I mean,
and what are you opposed to? And are the markets in the U.S. are they currently capitalism in some way?
They are currently capitalist markets, yes, but they aren't.
Okay.
That's not. Markets are just like ways that people exchange goods. That's what a market is. Capitalist markets is like when you have like when capital is the primary like driver of those markets. Capital being like not money exactly. Capital encompasses more than just money, especially today. But broadly speaking, capital just means money that is used to invest into production to facilitate more of it.
You're opposed to that?
On an individual basis, yes. As an individual capitalist, I am opposed to it. I'm opposed to capital investment, as in individuals using capital.
I mean, I could take an argument against the stock market part of it, but I mean, because
the stock market is one thing.
I want people to be able to invest and create innovation.
Yeah, I don't see what's wrong with someone like wanting to invest in someone else's idea. And if someone has the money and
I want someone to invest in ours.
The problem is that inevitably that leads to capital accumulation. The concept itself isn't like immoral or bad.
Capital accumulation.
Well, but you don't want all of the capital to accumulate at the top, though, right?
Well, but it's not.
Sorry. It is
like nobody has all the capital.
Well,
if you were against stuff like income inequality or like the centralization of wealth, I might be more.
Well, I am against income inequality. What?
But when you frame it as against capitalism, like if you're against too much wealth getting centralized at the top, that's different for me than being against capitalism.
Well, but the too much wealth getting accumulated at the top currently is the way capitalism works. That is what capitalism has morphed into. That is the way capitalism works today, is wealth gets accumulated towards the top. That's how it works.
But I still don't understand why you have to shift from being against the centralization of wealth to capitalism. Like, even if that's how capitalism works today, you can still target that one specific problem as your issue without shifting over to targeting all of capitalism.
In an immediate sense, that is the case. I'm anti-capitalist.
You have another agenda beyond that.
Yes, but I'm explicit about my other agenda. However, I am like in an immediate sense. Yeah, I believe that we should. We should shape capitalism to meet the needs of people.
So you are pro-capitalist. That's good to hear.
I'm anti. I am.
How are you going to shape capitalism if you don't even want it around to be shaped?
Because I can't get rid of it. Not today. Not immediately. Not even probably long term.
Then what's the point of being anti-capitalist if it's gonna take beyond your lifetime to even get rid of it? Why not just work with it?
Because I think it is important that we talk about what the kind of world that we want to see. Like, I don't just want to see a slightly better world. I want to see a vastly better world. However, I am realistic in the sense that I understand that my idea of a vastly better world cannot be achieved in my lifetime.
Because you want human nature to be something other than what it is.
I don't think
vision is unconstrained by human nature.
I don't agree that it's a human nature thing. I reject that.
I think there are ways to handle wealth inequality that go beyond like the ideas of just like taxing rich people more and stuff like that. I think maybe we could create incentive systems maybe that that would incentivize like people with that much wealth and everything to give more to something like that, or to create more, or to distribute their wealth more equally, or something like that. Just some sort of, because something that you need something that works with human nature. And I think like the current ideas and the current models they're using, like like wealth taxes and stuff like that, I think it was too counter to American ideals and American thinking, and also just human nature itself, in order for them to be like successful. And because you're gonna have too many people fighting against them, you need to create some sort of incentive structure that makes it make sense for these really rich people to not hold on, to not hoard their wealth, because like I think from their perspective, I try to put myself in like the perspective of like, if I'm Jeff Bezos or something like that, I have all this money and I can do all these things, or Elon Musk or whatever. And Elon Musk is actually better about like investing in things than other people are. But you can kind of see from their perspective how, sure, they could take all this money they have and they could kind of redistribute it, and they could pay off like all this medical debt. They could do like some practical things like that. But then it would just reaccumulate so quickly. It's kind of like the same feeling you get like whenever if you're like the only person, like, and I've experienced this. You're living in a house of messy people and you're the only one cleaning, right? And you can spend your whole day cleaning up everything after everyone, and then the next day you go to work, you come back and everything is equally messy again, and it feels very pointless. So it makes more sense to accumulate, to just kind of hoard your energy and not clean, and until people get tired of it or something like that. So I'm not saying that's a good attitude, but I think that's the way human brains work.
Yeah,
right?
no. I don't necessarily disagree.
There's got to be good ways to like incentivize and make it seem like a more reasonable way, in order for people to, beyond just like forcing taxation or something like that.
So, and actually, there's one good thing that the Biden admin has done recently. Not it's a Congress thing. Where there's a bill right now in Congress, I can't remember what the fuck it's called, but they're trying to get it to where hedge funds have to divest from their residential properties over the next 10 years. That basically, like, these big hedge funds can't like buy up huge swaths of houses. They'll have 10 years, a 10-year time.
I heard about that. I don't know how much chance it has of passing, but like I hope it
does.
Oh
yeah, no, I hope it does, because that's a good thing. I don't think it necessarily will.
I think that BlackRock and all these companies buying up all the freaking real estate and all the rental properties is like a horrible thing for people, and just for the country in general. It's bad on every possible level. It only benefits BlackRock. It benefits no one else. Yeah, it's not like one of these things where like there are some downstream benefits of it. I cannot see one, and I've thought of this issue before. Yeah, I see no issue. I see nothing that's one of those cases where like the government is actually regulating something. If it passes, we regulating them in a good way. Of course, it would also have been good if they passed that act that kept senators and congressmen from being able to give trade stocks. But
again, like I have very low. My hope is very low for the Congress to do good things, but I will absolutely, if there's a potential good thing on the horizon, I'll be like, yeah, no, that's good. Hopefully it passes. Even though I understand practically that good things like that, things that are that good, that explicitly good, oftentimes don't happen, because because
BlackRock is gonna throw tons of money at all the politicians that they're basically gonna put in that direction, and they're going to wave it in front of their noses and be like, well, do you want to get reelected or not? And our election cycles are so brief, and so like ultimately, just with how fast everything moves these days, like 2, 3, 4 years isn't long enough, really. I mean, I hate to think that we need longer term limit. I'd almost like the term limits to be shorter, but at the same time that would make it worse. So
yeah,
like I think
really the thing you need to do is like completely eliminate this like legalized bribery. Like, you need to get rid of lobbying, period. It just
that's separate to me from being anti-capitalist.
I agree.
No, it is. I agree. It is separate from being anti-capitalist, because
you would get much more support for your individual positions if you didn't roll them under this anti-capitalist agenda.
I'm just being honest, Jeff. Do you want me to lie and be like,
I'm being honest too.
I'm not anti-capitalist.
I'm glad you're being honest. I'm just trying to be practical.
I'm also being practical.
It's a label.
I shouldn't be trying to help you as much as I am, because we are on opposite sides of this issue.
I mean, it's like a branding thing. I feel the same way about fucking Bernie. Even back Bernie Sanders, even when I still had respect for him, I still thought it was stupid for him to call himself a democratic socialist, because it doesn't even really accurately describe what he was anyway. Yeah. it made him, and it automatically set people on edge and made people think that like he was like trying to be Stalin or something like that. I mean, that's silly maybe if you actually know anything about him. At the same time, it was bad branding. Like there was no reason to call yourself a democratic socialist unless you're trying to set people off. I mean, it's like you're trying to get people to go against you. I think that's the point Jeff is making. It's not
sure,
even like,
but I'm not a politician, so I don't really have that. I don't really have that sort of thing hanging over me. Like I'm not a politician. I'm not. But like in addition, I refuse to, or not refuse, but like my alternative is to be more deceptive, and I don't want to be deceptive, even though I do recognize that yes, it would absolutely make people agree with me more if I were deceptive. I don't want people to agree with me.
I don't know that's really deceptive though, because
I think I agree with you on the specific policies, despite your anti-capitalism stance.
See, that's what I'm saying too, because I don't think you're really as anti-capitalist. Even I think you're anti the way capitalism is used and implemented right now, and you're anti the way that it negatively impacts things.
If this is like 100 years into the future, it's not even relevant. Like it doesn't matter what you think.
I think it's perfectly fine to be working towards a future that you see beyond your lifetime. I think that's fine to work for the future that you want for your children or your grandchildren.
But how is he going to do that and participate in capitalism at the same time? Like that's because he just admitted he can't make the changes necessary to get the world he wants.
But he can still support.
He has to provide a roof and all of that. Why don't you just become a capitalist and then invest your own capital?
Well, I mean, first off, one does not simply become a capitalist. That's
one does simply walk into Mordor. I got you.
Yeah, it's kind of like being like, well, why don't you just become a billionaire? I mean,
well, you could set yourself a goal and make a business plan, and plenty of people become millionaires.
I would even
successful at it.
I would actually also say, like, I mean, I wouldn't even describe people who are small business owners as capitalists. They're typically not. Small business owners aren't even, in my experience, primarily capitalists. Usually the capital investment is owned by other people.
Do they not have capital that they invest?
Not typically, not to the degree that I would describe them as capitalists.
So then it's just the capitalists who have enough capital that are investing it in enough ways to make an impact. It's not even all capitalists.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, so being
just a billionaire.
Sorry. Being a capitalist is specifically about owning the capital, and like,
but you don't have a problem if small business owners own a little bit of capital and invest it.
Not as much. That's I don't think that's as much.
So it's not just about owning the capital. There's something else.
It's about the degree of the ownership of the capital. Yes, I do agree. It's a relationship to the means of production, and the means of production are usually like the capital. You know, like a truck is capital, right? A truck you use for work is capital. Your shop is.
You don't like rich people owning things.
I don't like rich people solely owning the means of production of workers. No, because the people who typically own the means of production oftentimes do not have the same class interests as the people who actually do the work.
Yeah, probably not. But they can own some of it. You just don't want them to own all of it.
No, I have no problem with like individuals. Like, okay, so like say, okay, actually, here's a great example. So for me, for the kind of contract work I do, there are some tools that I use in that work. Okay, those tools are capital. That's like the means of production. I used capital to acquire those means of production, and I own those kinds of means of production. However, like I don't have the scale of the means of production. Like if I were to go to work for a company and they were to provide me with a truck and they provided me with tools, I wouldn't own those means of productions. The people at the top would. They're just letting me use them, and I'm selling my labor, not anything else.
Like I understand what you're saying entirely.
That makes sense.
No,
there's nothing objectionable to that. You want them to give you a truck?
No. What I'm saying is that it is a better system when the people who are working are owning the means of production themselves.
No, see, like I completely. I mean, like my vision for
better how. I don't even know if I want to own the means of production. That sounds like a lot of work and responsibility.
It is.
I might just want the opportunity to use my labor to generate income of my own.
Like, I mean, like that's like my basic my concept for my open source studio thing that I've talked about, like the business like thing I like to do with like the streaming thing. It's basically the same thing. It's like I would like to have I would like to buy a bunch of like really nice high end like production equipment, stuff like that, and I would like to let everyone use it. And that's very that's very much in line with like and even though I might own that means of production, I would let that means of production be available to anyone, right?
Sure.
Without charging anything up front for it.
Yeah.
Just like we would generate income to keep the business going and keep growing, but not I think there's a balance there that can be done. A lot of the own means of production. It would be very nice if they would be very more generous with that sort of thing. But the problem does come in. You have to kind of create some sort of regulation and stuff because some people will come in and just break shit, and then nobody.
I agree. The problem is really the problem fundamentally is the incentive. Under capitalism, the incentive for producing capital or for working is to get more money. Okay, that's the sole motivation for capitalist companies is to produce profit. There is zero other aside from anything external. Internally,
now we're getting somewhere, because do you think that the incentive is from capitalism or from human nature? Greed has been around since probably cavemen,
but capitalism hasn't. So there is something to be said that.
But it incentivizes something that's already existed in human nature.
Well, but also like
so how is another
hang
system
hang on. Humans also are by nature very cooperative, though, Jeff. So what's your what I think humans are cooperative.
If your issue is greed, it's not the system that's incentivizing it. It's the innate.
No, I do think
drive to acquire to begin with, because whatever system, you're still going to have greed.
Well,
you're still going to have people trying to acquire money at the expense of other people.
If you have a system where that is the motivation, then yes, you will have that as a system.
You're going to have that anyway. Like, you think greed's just going to disappear if you have a different system?
No, not disappear, but the motivation doesn't have to be greed.
But you don't have to. Like I said before, that requires changing people's hearts, not the laws or anything behind it. That literally change.
Well, no, I agree. That does require a social change. I agree. That's why when I talk about these kinds of things, I'm a reformist, not like a
it sounds like what you're really wanting to reform is human nature, not any external system. Because the root of all of the problems you're talking about are in human nature. And
I reject that greed is any more human nature than cooperation.
Well, I just think you're very out of touch with human nature. I'm not saying it's any more, but I'm saying it is part of human nature.
Well, hang on. But if cooperation then is also part of human nature, then why can't we shift it away from greed towards more cooperation?
Because I think that ratio depends on the individual. Like, it's going to be different in each individual.
Yeah, no,
obviously have individuals where greed is going to outweigh cooperation, and there's no external social engineering that can do anything about that. So your problem is going to follow you from whatever system you create.
There have been human societies where people have been punished for people get punished.
Like, if you kill your greedy people, then I guess.
Not even that. Just having social consequences against.
I don't like your form of social engineering and Pavlovian conditioning of other humans. I don't believe you're qualified to determine all of that. And I don't want to live in a system.
I'm not saying that
the mechanism of social influence. I like my liberal democracy. I don't want to live in that kind of authoritarian.
Well, no, system. That this kind of thing can only occur in a liberal democracy because of the ideals of the Enlightenment liberalism. These kinds of ideals promote this ability to do these kinds of things.
Then why am I so bothered by it?
I
And why does
don't
it
know.
seem like authoritarianism?
That seems like a you problem. Like,
Oh, God. I mean, come on.
Well, capitalism also seems like a you problem. Because I don't have a problem with it, and none of the people I know have a problem with it. So I could say the same thing
Sure.
about your opposition to capitalism.
I know plenty of people who do have a problem with it. So
Well,
I mean,
it's
it's
like
I
just
mean,
y'all
I don't think it's a problem with the system itself. I think the system itself allows for the opportunity of people from even a very low station to rise to higher stations and to improve their lives, and it gives them incentive to try to do so. And I think that's the thing that makes capitalism work, is because it does acknowledge man's
it's an
greed.
idealized version, but yes.
Yeah,
you
in an
are
idealized
living
version.
one of my probably my biggest criticism of the left is their completely unrealistic, idealized vision of human nature.
I do not
And
think
this
that
is a perfect example
I do
of
not
it.
think that modern capitalism is the most ideal version of capitalism. In my opinion,
No, it's not. It's definitely not.
It's just
So
my
if there
opinion.
is an ideal version, then why are you anti-capitalist?
Because I believe that even an
Even if it's the
idealized
ideal version, you'd be against it.
even the idealized version of capitalism will inevitably, I believe, lead to the less idealized versions because of the incentive
Because of
structures
greed,
behind,
because of human nature,
because of the incentive structures built into
because
capitalism.
of the drives and impulses that the incentive structures are operating on, which you've yet to address.
There will
in
be
your
bad
system.
actors in any system that will try to, and if the system is naive enough, will eventually take over that system and use it to their own and bend it to their own will, no matter what the system.
And
is, no matter-
I think well, I agree, but I think capitalism is a system that is particularly vulnerable.
I agree.
Liberal capitalism is.
But that's actually its strength. Okay, it's not, and I know what you're saying. I felt the same way about capitalism as I was young. I mean, it's not, in the older I've gotten, the more I've thought about it, the more I felt strongly about this. The fact that the capitalism strength is the fact that it acknowledges greed, and therefore it creates a more level playing field. Even though it's very unlevel, but it's still less level than it would be in like a system where like everything is, where power gets more centralized like that. There are still people that do come from nothing and become billionaires. You know, it still happens. It's rare.
I mean,
I think there's a way to improve it. I think there's ways to try to change, like to try to improve people's, like, you know, the way they think about things, and to try to educate better, and to try to do things like that. I do think there's a lot of ways to improve the
I don't know,
world.
Chris. That sounds like social engineering bullshit.
That sounds like liberalism. Education sounds like liberalism, which you're
he's talking about social
like
engineering. That's social engineering. I
didn't say it wasn't.
No, I'm saying it's not. I don't think liberal education is social engineering. I think what you're describing.
What I'm describing not only includes, but necessitates education. This kind of social engineering, as you describe it, requires
not authentic education, because they could be educated.
It absolutely does require.
You would need indoctrination.
No, you absolutely need liberal educate. You need things.
We
like
have that now.
Freedom of
That's
speech.
one reason I have not adopted your position.
That's one of the things that I like about our system, Jeff, is that we are a liberal democracy. That's why I am not like. That's why I haven't fucking entirely given up, because our system is set up to change. Now, obviously, it's not set up to like change easily, and obviously there are ways in which it's more difficult to change than it ought be, but like our system is set up to adapt, to have people have open dialogue and discuss and change. That's the strength of liberal democracies. But like capitalism comes into conflict with that, very much so. Capitalism very much degenerates into monopolization at the drop of a hat. If you have the more unregulated capitalism is, the more it degenerates, the more quickly it degenerates.
And be against monopolization. Don't be like without being against capital. Like it's like in
a practical sense,
bugs in capitalism. You're still going to find a way to be against capitalism, even if we resolve all of the bugs in it.
because I don't think the problem with capitalism isn't all
And
these
any
tiny
system
little
is going to
bugs.
have them, and I don't want you
No,
engineering my society.
I don't disagree. I mean, I'm not the one engineering it, so you're welcome. You don't have to fear that. People
I don't want your friends engineering it.
It's not my friends either, probably. We're like nobodies. We're not gonna fucking engineer shit.
Good. I hope you stay that way.
Sure. I hope we do too. I kind of want to fly under the radar. I don't want to.
I think we can all agree the best is will be a theocracy ruled under Moloch.
Yeah, obviously.
I think you just don't want billionaire. Like, I think you just don't want billionaires to exist. You don't want there to be anything.
Hang on. Billionaire. Okay. That is true, but that's not like a foundation. That's not a foundational belief. In fact, if there were in my opinion, moral way to become a billionaire, there are absolutely situations that I wouldn't have a problem with billionaires.
But then billionaires wouldn't be anything special, or it wouldn't actually be important to be one. That it'd be trillionaires, and it would always
yes.
be one, because there's always going to be exceptions that are going to make everything else look less important and stuff like that. I mean, that's just human. That's unfortunate.
That's another unrealistic. Like you want some kind of cap to the hierarchy, and that's not realistic.
Yeah, sure.
Either.
Well, I mean, not really. There have been caps on the hierarchies before, and it didn't like cause the world to fucking crumble.
Right.
Like I do think I have a relatively reasonable cap, which is if for instance in America, I'll even just limit it to just America. If in America nobody ever had any issue with just basic survival, then I wouldn't have as much of a problem with billionaires. That is I think
how is a billionaire responsible for someone else's basic survival? Like I and me and Chris are both on the edge of precarity. We are in that boat.
Sure.
Of basic survival, and I don't think there's a single billionaire that I feel is responsible for.
Well, they're responsible because they have a far overrepresentative amount of power and influence over the system to keep it from improving.
But I don't even feel like it's the system that's has me struggling to survive.
Well, it is. I mean. So what's has you struggling to survive then? Why? Because I mean, let's first off be clear that like we could hypothetically, America could ensure that everybody has a roof over their head and everybody has food in their bellies in America. We could do that. That is technically
yes, and yes, we can from the ground up if there's the political will to do it and through the democratic process. Yes.
And also the fact that you have to ensure that the people that there are people. I mean, like I said, I've met and talked to these people. Like there's homeless people that do not want it, and I'm like, they don't.
I was part of the social safety net for a while, and I hated it. I couldn't wait to get out of it.
I'm talking about for the people who want the social safety net.
Okay.
Though.
So I'm saying, but it doesn't. Isn't there part of it kind of like seems like it feeds like that? Just the fact that it existed. I mean, we need to help those people first of all. Those people need to be helped.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they're not. They're also not a priority. Those are not my people. That's not my.
No, I mean that's not even necessarily the priority. I'm more my priority. Who I'm talking about is the millions of Americans who are living on the edge of precarity. I think living on the edge of precarity.
You're talking to two of them right here.
I'm living on the other side.
None of us agree with your position.
I'm living on the other side of the edge of precarity.
You don't agree that precarity is a bad thing?
No, I do. But I think that precarity.
I don't agree that it's capitalism. I don't agree that it's the system, and I don't agree that it's the billionaires. So your solutions for my precarity, I don't agree with.
Well, my solutions for precarity are more about like
the solutions for them. Hey, Juniper.
I mean, my immediate solutions for precarity are liberal. I'm not talking about like a communist revolution. I'm not talking about going to the billionaires and like pointing a gun at them.
I don't need anybody to provide a solution. I just need the right opportunity, which I can find on my own.
Sure, but there are other
Like
people.
I
who
can
need more.
find a way to generate my own income. I don't need anything
Sure,
from.
but there are other
society.
people who aren't in your position, who are in a worse position than you, and I'm saying
I've been in those positions.
I'm sure, and what I'm saying is, I think that we, as a society, have a duty to reduce precarity as much as we can. That is, in fact, I would argue that is a fundamental role of government to.
Yeah, we have different priorities because that's not high up on the chain for me.
Precarity is a thing about safety, and I do believe that the government has a very high role to play in the safety, health, and well-being of its citizens. Especially
Well,
if
there might be an argument there. If you want to,
especially if it's the system itself that is, and I'm not even saying that it is necessarily, but it is true that the way our system is currently set up, it requires our current system requires a certain degree of precarity, and I don't think that that's good. I think that.
I mean, I know what you're saying. I actually I've thought about this a lot about like that sort of thing. But there is a part of me that I have like this kind of like weird like kind of like makes me kind of sick feeling though that the precarity is almost to some degree the precarity is almost necessary. Like the amount of risk or the amount of like the risk reward type thing in the human brain, I think almost needs that degree that threat there in order for it to fully thrive. I think if everyone felt fully safe and fully, I would love to feel like.
I mean, part of this is like I don't necessarily fully disagree, but our system is set up to where for average people like you and me, that is a thing. But for say particularly wealthy people, that fear of precarity isn't really a thing. Like,
yeah, right. I mean, but it was at some point.
What's the sure? It was at some point.
Bezos. I mean, I gotta give the guy credit. He started in his fucking garage. He might have had some money, but he was not. He was nowhere
no.
near
I actually do agree. But right now, Bezos has no fear of precarity. It's literally zero. There is no world.
So.
But that's kind of like, but that's
I'm glad for it. Like
that's the desire. Like that's where you get.
Well, but hang on, Jeff.
I don't have envy.
Hang on, if you agree, it's not an envy thing. It's a. Oh my god.
I don't even think about Jeff Bezos ever. He doesn't even cross my mind.
I'm just using him as an example of a fucking.
But why does people like him even bother you?
I use Bezos as an example because I used to work for Amazon and I actually got emails from him occasionally. So
yeah,
that's the only reason I mentioned him. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I understand that he's a stand-in for wealthy people in general. That's why I'm using him. But it doesn't have to be him. But just I don't think about rich people at all. I don't care what they're doing or how they're living their life. They've been around forever.
Well, no, it's not.
Millennium.
It's not just rich people. It's people who are rich enough to literally have more influence over our government than your average person.
Yeah, but that's been happening for like thousands of years.
I agree, it has been, and it's always been a problem. Do you agree,
even
Jeff?
Before capitalism.
Hang on, Jeff. You're pro Enlightenment liberal. Don't you agree that that's a problem? That
I think liberalism is the best system for countering that influence than any.
I agree, Jeff. That's why I like living in America, because I think that we here in America and just Western liberal democracies broadly have the greatest chance to actually enact positive change non-violently in our countries.
Well, if you truly care about Chris and I's precarity and you want to be part of the solution, help us get 1,000 likes so we can start monetizing this shit.
Honestly,
tell your friends, market it, but don't bring all your weirdo commie audience here. We don't want 1,000 commies.
Well, I probably won't do that. My immediate friend circle probably.
Well, I'm gonna go in front of your house then and shake my little cup.
As I said in my Discord message to you, like I said, I am the Fox Mulder of communism, socialism, whatever. Like I really do. I want to believe in it. I do. I want to believe, but like there's always the logical part, the Dana Scully part of my brain, the other part half of me that sees the fact that the what did I say? I said like it sees the fact that UFO looks awfully fake, and like you can see the zipper on the skin suit and everything like that. I
don't think any current iteration, even if you're talking about like philosophically, I don't think any current ideal of communism would, if implemented today, work.
Well, my point being though is that like honestly, I honestly believe like the kind of business that like I've been talking about, stuff like that, like if people create more things like that that were about like opening up quote unquote means of production to everyone, like and if there were people that actually created things like that created that more decentralized the way that people could be creative or be industrious or whatever like that. And I think there are some cool things like that, like those maker workshops and stuff like that. Have you seen those? Like where you can like pay
I have.
And you can go and you can use all their tools and their CNCs.
Yeah,
and
they
like
have those.
I've used them before. Yeah.
I mean, I think I would love to open one of those that was like basically free use, except like you'd have to be able to offer some kind of capital or some kind of like backup in case you break something.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have the proper training of that equipment, you can break it really easily, and then nobody has access to it. So you have to have some kind of safeguards. But I mean, I was
to say we have those kinds of things exist. Back when I was in Memphis, one of the other sign companies that we would like work with, we'd obviously like we would negotiate and like sometimes we would get jobs that we couldn't do, so we'd give them to them and they'd give jobs to us. But then also there were some machines and tools that we had that they didn't have, or that they had that we didn't have, and we would let each other use them. And there was a certain degree of like we did pay for some use of them. Sometimes it mostly depended, but like
buy used ones for making guitars.
Yeah, I thought about doing that too. I was into making guitars for a while. But
and that kind of stuff is good. That's cooperative. That's really good. But like.
But see, if you take the voluntary aspect out of it, it turns it into an obligation, which will make people resentful and lead to other which is
I agree. That's why I do think they ought to be voluntary.
It requires that. That's the problem with it, is that as communism or socialism as a government system, it requires it to be like this mandatory thing. Well, if it's mandatory, then if you take the voluntary aspect out of it, then it's just the same thing as like the concept of like God and like the angels not being like. That guy, the angels were, because he created them to be too subservient or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you create something to serve you, and therefore it no longer has any meaning. Like its service no longer has meaning. It has to be chosen, right? You have to choose. You have to choose to serve that. Yeah, and like there were a lot of people like in. I was watching. I guess just because we talked about it yesterday, I watched The Death of Stalin last night. As I was falling asleep. And a lot of it, like, and we really have to watch that one to like. I want to watch it with all you guys because I think it's so brilliant in the way that it like deconstructs like the socialist ideals. It's really not about like against socialism. It's just about socialist or communistic Russia specifically, and how it wasn't socialist and how it was really just authoritarian and everything like that. It's actually just like. It's really about how it's really just fascist. Like in the background of the movie the whole time, this really kind of silly comedy movie. There's just like soldiers going around just killing people constantly. Yeah, I mean, it's really dark. It's really dark. Yeah, but it's really, really like But but as I was watching, I was just thinking the whole time. I was just like like. It doesn't matter. I lost my train of thought. ADHD.
Well, no, I mean, what you're talking about is important. That,
I just stopped.
These kinds of things need to be voluntary. That's like the necessary part of I think my ideal of communism, anarchism is that it is all voluntary. But what that requires is a changing of priorities. What that requires is a changing of the incentive structures of.
Well, why can't people determine their own priorities? Why do you have to come along and approve them or recommend them for change? And this is all pie in the sky anyway, because you said this. None of this is going to happen now in our lifetime, and I am interested in realistic solutions that I can take a hand in and participate in today. Not all of this like 100 years from now. This is what we want society.
Sure. In which case, I guess like you don't have to participate in this conversation, but that was that's the conversation that we're currently having. If you want to talk about like, oh, all these like things that we can do today, practical things. That
I think we are at our best
agree.
when we're talking about realistic policies that can be implemented today. Like when the conversation veers onto those, I think that is us at our strongest.
And it's not about, and to me anyway, it's not about telling people what's right and what's wrong. It's just the same thing as I feel about any kind of debate thing. It's like if you feel like someone else has bad ideas, you try to counter it with better ideas. And I think that if our ideas are clear enough and like and thought out well thought out enough, you could say it's social engineering or you can say whatever, but I think it is a matter of like if your good ideas are good enough, they will defeat the bad ideas. They will be more appealing.
Yeah, and so far they're not. Like all you can do, if you think my priority should be something different, you can make your case, and then I can accept or reject it. That's liberalism.
Convince people is to convince people with actual facts and logic, Ben Shapiro style, you know.
Yeah. and not even facts, not even just facts and logic, but utilizing the entirety of the spectrum of things, logos, ethos, and pathos to convince people. That's good and valid and useful.
See, like, that's what I've been saying. I've been saying for a while. It's weird. Every time I have any of these conversations, you get deep enough into it. You dig down deep enough, and you find that like you really do agree with people more than you realize. We end up getting into fights or arguments about.
We're talking about stuff that's never going. Like, none of this is our lifetime. That's what's so frustrating about this conversation. I feel the same way when I get involved in conversations about prehistoric, like ancient history from millions of years ago when man was first evolving, where we have no data of. It's all speculation. None of it has anything concrete to go on. I have the same feeling as I do with these sci-fi future utopias. I'm a very concrete thinker, and I need realistic things I can latch onto that I can relate to from my experience in the here and now.
Like the things I'm talking about, like things like creating businesses like the ones I'm talking about, stuff like that. I think those are things I could do in my lifetime. I think those are possible. I think that those things and those things move things in a direction I think is preferable. I don't, but I'm not. I don't. That's the reason why I don't consider myself anti-capitalist or anything like that. I see capitalism as maybe unfortunately maybe not. I don't even know how I feel about it, but I feel like that capitalism is regardless the only system by which that I can achieve any of those goals. So as it is, I mean, I do wish that it was easier to get access to capital or whatever, or to the means of production, whatever you call it. I wish that it was easier, and I would like if I get the opportunity to, I will do everything in my power to try to open that up and make that easier for other people. I would love to run a business where if I employ someone, I've always had this. And I used to do this whenever I used to manage the movie theater too. I would tell people when I hire them, like, I know that you're not going to work here forever. I know that this isn't like your career or anything like that. My only goal in employing you here is to is help give you a paycheck and you help out like with what we need you to, and I'll do everything in my power to help you get to where you want to go. And I think that's just the best possible attitude that people can have, but people don't really think like that a lot of times, but I don't think it's impossible to change people's basic attitudes towards things like that to some degree, to where it's more it's more about helping the people that you see that
more pro-social is I guess
or as Jesus said, to love your neighbor as yourself, basically, to literally try to the people that you see around you that are your neighbors spiritually, whatever, materially, whatever you want to call it, to help those people and to love them as we love ourselves.
That
to help
sounds
them be helped,
socialist and communist.
But it's voluntary. Now, social and communist is mandatory, not voluntary. I'm talking about voluntary.
Well, yeah, if it's voluntary, but
yeah. Do you hate
your inability to reach your goals are more internal than anything having to do with capitalism?
I didn't say they did anything to do with capitalism. I was saying that capitalism.
No, I'm just pointing out, you're talking about if you reached your goals and you had the business and all that, and you can do all of that, but there's internal things you have to overcome. And
there are external things too, though. I mean, I'm
talking about in Chris's case in particular because I know him and we've talked.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. No, I admit that. I don't.
That's not the case. That's not the case with everyone, though. It is worth noting. There are absolutely
no, but there are with everyone. I promise you, I can sit down with anybody and find some internal factors that are contributing to whatever
Well,
situation
sure, there might
they're
be
in.
contributing,
And
but,
there's
like,
an internal locus that they can take agency over and use to help themselves out of the problem.
I agree 1,000%. Absolutely. I fight with myself and I struggle with myself over that kind of thing every day. That's half the reason I beat myself up about things every day, about the fact that I can't seem to overcome certain things that are holding me back. I know that's the truth. I know it's the truth, and I'm aware.
How
of
have
it.
you overcome them in the past? Because you have done successful things in the past.
Right. I mean, like here in recent years, it's been more like sickness and like the vertigo and various circumstantial things. But I still have internal, just like fears, anxieties, things that hold me back. That I know that I need to overcome. I need to be better about. I need to like change. I need to like think. I need to figure things out better than I have been. I need to figure out ways I can overcome like the vertigo beyond just like waiting on doctors. There's all these things that I need to do that I don't usually know how to, and I haven't been able to do yet. But I'm fighting to do them. I'm aware of it. I fully admit my own failings in that. I have no illusions about the fact. I don't believe it's the system or the man that's keeping me down per se. I mean, like the system exists. It's there. It doesn't necessarily always help me, but it doesn't. I don't think that I don't feel like a victim of it. I'm not a victim of the system or anything like that.
I guess it's important. I don't call myself or think of myself as a victim of capitalism, Jeff.
I never said that you did. I
know, but it seems like you think that other people might be.
Well, do you think that there are no people who are victims of capitalism?
I think there are more people that are.
Yeah, I don't necessarily believe in victims to begin with, other than maybe in like the strictly legal sense of the term.
Well, when someone's victimized by like a criminal or something, right?
Right, because like I just said, every situation I look at, I can see their role in that situation too. They're not just passive, helpless victims.
Well,
I don't believe anybody in America is.
I don't think anyone's like. I don't think they're like everyone's like a passive, helpless.
So to say someone is a victim of capitalism, that's just a failure to use their own agency to mitigate the effects that capitalism is having on their life. Capitalism is not just bulldozer running over everybody.
In some cases, perhaps.
In most.
I don't know if you have the data necessarily to make since you're such a data person. I don't know if you necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
have...
I'm not a data person. I'm a concrete, realistic person. But I've never. Whenever you show me,
what is concrete? What is concrete?
Give me an example of somebody that's a victim of capitalism that doesn't have some role in that situation.
Someone who is born with a child who is born with cancer to poor parents, and then because their parents are poor, they aren't able to get the proper medical care, and they die at like the age of 3.
How is capitalism contributing to that?
Well, I don't think capitalism should have anything to do with our healthcare system. Of course, we've had this conversation before.
Yeah.
I think healthcare should not be tied to capitalism.
Well, healthcare is, as of right now, tied to capitalism, very intrinsically.
Your example was not convincing to me. I don't consider that a victim of capitalism.
What would you consider that?
It's unfortunate.
But
I don't consider it a victim of capitalism. Like people are born with all kind of things that has nothing to do with other people.
Well, yeah, but there
are society is structured.
Sure, but there are ways to structure.
Not every unfortunate circumstance can be laid at the foot of capitalism.
Well, I'm not like laying it at the foot of capitalism in like a moral sense. I'm laying it at the foot of capitalism in like a consequential sense, like that. Our system does not need to be this way. Our system is this way. It is connected to capitalism. Even though we don't need it to be, we could change it. However, until we do change it, it is the way it is.
Don't like a lot of the states have expanded Medicaid?
Texas definitely.
So you're really only talking about a state where this child would be living in that doesn't have expanded Medicaid, and even then, they probably have resources to help cancer kids, which is a
some
product of capitalism to be able to even have that.
I mean, not really.
There's
Are
probably
roads,
some billionaire that
hang on, are
invested in
roads
some kind of
a
like
product of
charity for
capitalism?
cancer kids.
Would you describe like the firefighters department as a product of capitalism?
Posited for us.
Well, yeah, actually,
I don't know. Aren't some of them privatized and
but to a
some of
degree,
them?
roads are a product of capitalism because
Uh-huh.
like someone is paid to pave the roads, paid to build them and stuff like that. There
Yeah.
is a product. It is part of it. I'm not saying that it's the only thing that brings about roads. There is a social, a socialistic kind of dynamic to it. That's the reason why libertarians are all like they don't make any sense because they want to drive on the roads, but they don't want to contribute to anything. Makes no sense to me either. But I'm just saying, but yeah, I mean, sure, like roads and in just basic the progress of society and building the cities and all that stuff like that. I mean, it does have it is tied to it to some degree. And to some degree, I mean, and granted, like we had it's like the true rise of capitalism is one of the few things you can look at historically speaking that arose in the way it did around the same time that technology and everything did progress as much as it has. I mean, like because prior to that with the feudal systems and everything, those definitely held people back quite a bit, I guess, because I don't know.
Was it explicitly capitalism that did that, or could it might have been the?
It's a combination of things.
Yeah, it was definitely a combination of things. I think there are many people who might attribute the explosion of society and like the heightening of standards of living exclusively to capitalism.
But at the same time, yes, capitalism is part of it. It's a big part of it, and it has lifted more people out of poverty.
It's lifted more people out of poverty than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, look how many. The fact that people dying of unfortunate things and like sad things has not only just happened all throughout history, but happened a lot more.
But it is worth noting. I'm just talking about people who live in America, and in America, these things are very, 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 very preventable.
Right.
I've seen capitalism lift people in America out of poverty.
Rich enough, right?
Many times.
I see your point there.
Like again, I'm not saying that like we necessarily then now need to like have a communist revolution today to like that will fix all of these problems. I do believe that many of these problems can be fixed within our current system. However, to fix them, you do have to fight against oftentimes capitalist entities.
I disagree that you have to do that. And if they can be fixed within our current system, then why not talk about the current policies and solutions for fixing them today in our current system than 200 years down the road?
Well, because not all of these things can be fundamental.
You just said they could be fixed in our current system.
There are things that can be fixed, but not all things can be fixed within our current system.
So what if we just started with the things that could be? Why are we prioritizing the things that can't be when we have so many things we can fix today?
Have I said that I'm prioritizing things that can't be fixed
today? It seems like, because the conversation keeps drifting to what needs to happen 100 years from now to fix certain things.
Well, that's because we're not.
And if there's all these things we can fix now, that seems like a much more productive discussion.
Well, yeah, but like that's a different discussion than the one we were having, because the one we were having
that's the more interesting one to me because it has the more potential to have an actual real world effect. Maybe somebody's listening to this and they get an idea, like they're in politics.
Then let's
are they in a position to implement some of these solutions
that you think we should implement? Do you have one that you want to talk about?
What were some of the, when you said we can fix some of these things with our current system? What were some of the things we can fix? Healthcare. I mean, we've talked about several of them. They come up in these discussions, and when they do, the discussion drifts away from them pretty quickly onto the more abstract stuff.
Partly because what we were talking about, part of it is like we're talking, sometimes the initial conversation is about the abstract, and we're just sort of, we tangentially get into these sort of more immediate problems and how they would be fixed in my abstract ideal. Which again, like I will talk about that, but like again, when I'm talking about like specific policy things, I usually have ideas for how I think they can be fixed in a sort of more immediate, practical sense, at least in some ways. Like again, I don't think we could fully deprivatize all medical care in America. I don't think that's like I don't actually even think that's achievable in my lifetime. I think there our
It,
step.
it could be. It
could be,
will
but it
not,
won't be.
Probably not be. But I think
Yeah.
it very easily could be.
It could be, but it won't be.
We could the cost of it would be, it would be exponential, because the only thing about it is that whenever you do that, and you create healthcare so much more accessible for people, that means more people live, which means the system will ultimately become bloated really quickly, and it becoming more and more expensive, even more expensive than the money we're sending overseas to wars right now. I've seen this kind of
the political will's just not there. The system is so big and complex, and there's no individual component of the system whose interest it's in to privatize.
I hate that.
To get a system that large to.
No, I agree. I don't disagree.
Like, to develop the will in a system that large that it's going to take. It's just not the people that use the system might have the will.
But the people who are in control of the system don't have the will. I know. I agree.
Or the people that are participate in the system, whether they're in control of it or not. The doctors, the insurance companies, the administrators, the regulators.
I've had this idea before that I think is probably. Once again, this is a pie in the sky thing that'll never get implicated. But I kind of feel like being a politician shouldn't be like it should be like maybe the one thing that's like almost like not like should be like almost like not a voluntary thing where you choose to become one, but it's like kind of drafted into. Like everybody gets drafted into being like a congressman for like one part of their life, like everybody. It's like a random lottery, like the Hunger Games, where you have to like.
Oh, God. Oh no.
For like a year, but that way there would be no but that way there would be no elections, there'd be no campaigns, and there would be no chance of anyone getting like power hungry. It would be like jury duty. You'd have to go and become a senator or a congressman for a year.
This is how it happens, because now we're back on the abstract. We touched reality for a few seconds, and it could be a feature of the neurodivergence. It could be like the neurodivergent brains like exploring ideas.
Yeah,
I apologize, Jeff.
But I'm just noticing how it happens.
Yeah, no. If you want to talk about healthcare broadly, as much as I fucking hate it, Biden's idea for like a split, privatized, and public healthcare system isn't a bad one. I do think
I don't have a problem with expanded Medicaid. I think Washington State did a really good job in implementing their state Medicaid.
I do think there is a degree where we probably do need to nationalize a large section of our pharmaceutical industry. A large part of it's funded publicly, anyways. Like,
yeah, no, I agree with that, I agree that we, at very least, all basic medical things basic medical thing should ever put anybody in like some massive amount of debt or anything like that. I don't think there should be any kind of like, and to be honest, Texas is very good about that. We're not massive amounts of medical debt, even though we should be. Lindsay was pregnant and had to be in the hospital for weeks and weeks and weeks, and like she had a C-section and everything, and we didn't owe anything after that. So
we grew up poor. It was a single mom with 4 kids, and every one of us somehow managed to get the health care we need. Like we didn't suffer from inability to pay for health care. I can't tell you specifics. I was a kid. I know Louisiana has a pretty robust charity system, but we did not suffer from lack of healthcare, even growing up poor. And this was like 20, 30 years ago.
It's not just about like, I'll die if I don't get healthcare. A lot of it's also like, not being able to afford preventative care, and that causing other problems down the road is probably the bigger issue than like life-threatening.
When I say basic medical care, I'm not talking about just emergency care. I'm talking about the ability to go to the doctor for depression.
Me too. I'm talking about all of that.
Especially for mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Mental health, I think, is completely overlooked in our system entirely in the first place, even in the paid system.
Well, there's supposed to be parity now. Obama created the mental health parity law, so it's supposed to be treated the same as any other medical condition.
But it's not.
But the problem is, if they don't know how to do it, that's not going to happen. That's not realistic to expect.
Yeah,
you're right. I'm not saying it's realistic per se, but I'm just saying that I do think that it's.
But it's already required. Like, it's already a law.
But then, how do you enforce it better? Like, how do you educate that better? How do you keep doctors from viewing anybody with mental health disorder?
I've been working this field for going on 9 years now. That is one of the biggest struggles.
That's what I always say. It always comes back down to education. It always comes back down to like teaching.
It's more than just education, though, because just like I had a supervisor once compliment me on my teaching and tell me, he says, you can't teach teaching. The teaching that you do, you can't teach that. That these young teachers go to college and get teaching degrees, but they don't come out learning something that it's, I guess, the difference between talent and skill.
Yeah.
So you can teach like some basic skills that might help, but you need a certain amount of talent as well in the field, and there's not enough. I think it's a labor shortage. I think it's a shortage of people that actually know how to work with that population, and it's the same with neurodivergence.
And a large part of it has to do, I think, with the compensation that teachers get. There's just not like you go to school for fucking 8 years to be a teacher, and then you get paid $20,000 a year. The math just isn't mathing. You know.
I don't agree. I don't think you'd have to go to school for 8 years, and I definitely think you should get paid more than $20,000. Although I don't want to pay a bunch of woke teachers to indoctrinate kids either.
Well, sure, but I mean that's just there's going to be they're going to be different from us ideologically. That's going to happen no matter what. But I agree. But at the same time,
I think you can have a system of education without ideology. I mean, I've been in them. It's perfectly possible to teach math and reading and science.
I'm aware.
Not indoctrinate into an ideology.
Do you think it's possible for somebody to go to college and come out not woke?
And now, in today's age,
yeah,
probably possible, but I think a lot of it would depend on the person themselves. I don't think anything about the college would help produce that.
It's going to depend on how well they're educated in high school, whether how gullible they are.
They would have to go in knowing how to think critically and kind of insulate themselves from the indoctrination.
I have a sister. Okay, like my sister and like my family we're all very similar in a lot of way in terms of like our independent thinking type thinking, and like I have a sister who is probably the most like me in a lot of ways, the one that's the most like me of my three sisters. But she went to college and she totally came out of that system woke as fuck.
Weird.
It's very, and she is like I said before, she is like she was like she made me no longer the black sheep of my family, because I was a black sheep of my family forever.
Mm-hmm.
But now because she's basically like a hardcore Democrat, she's like a normie Democrat, and very woke normie Democrat at the same time. And she's like, she was campaigning for what's his name for Beto for Beto.
Oh, I fucking hate Beto O'Rourke.
I know she was campaigning for Beto O'Rourke, and like I mean, and like that. And like my dad is like my dad knows like I'm a lot more liberal than him, stuff like that, and like he knows that he knows that. But me and Dad we found the common ground. We learned how to get along over the years, but now she's come at it like she doesn't just butt heads with my dad like I used to her opinions, but she will directly antagonize and go after like conservative things and stuff like that, just to like piss my parents off, stuff like that. It's
God.
But it's just like it's just something that happens. I mean, I don't hate her for it or anything.
For what it's worth, that's like part of the reason why I hate hanging out with my dad's side of the family, because they know that I'm not a fucking evangelical rabid Christian nationalist,
right, yeah.
So they fucking bait me into shit all the time, and I just kind of avoid talking to him about it. But still, my Uncle Bobby will still call me and be like, "Oh, did you hear about what Trump said?" And I'll just be like, "I'm busy, Uncle Bobby. I'm busy."
Well, I finally got my parents, like, because of all of our various medical things. My dad had a stroke a couple years ago, unfortunately. At the same time, like I came to vertigo, and Lindsay had her thing, and all those things happened all at the same time, and that actually turned my entire family's opinion on healthcare around. Like we're everybody in my family now agrees on socialized healthcare. So.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty broad American opinion at this point. It's not even like it's a bipartisan thing at this point.
Well, for a conservative Christian family though, that I mean, like, and they were already like Trump already kind of turned them a little bit against it a little bit, because they were already like, Trump isn't no Christian, like my dad was a minister. He was a youth pastor and a music minister at different churches. So I mean, he went to like actual theological seminary school, like that. So I mean, he was actually he had a double he had like a major in theology, and then like a minor in like computer science or something like that. So he has like his basic like his basic skill set is like he's either worked coming to computer IT stuff, or he's worked in churches, and so like and from a very conservative Christian upbringing like that, I mean, just to see like my parents like accept gay marriage being a thing, growing up like hearing all the conservative people like once it got legalized, like my parents just like kind of accepted it, moved on. You know, like I've got.
God, I wish my family would.
I seriously, I
most Republicans and religious.
Yeah, no, most of them do. Yeah, my specifically my family doesn't, but like that's a very specific thing. I know that it's broadly an accepted thing. Even the church I grew up in does.
I mean, like we're not really sure about my other daughter Clover. We're not really sure where she is in that spectrum right now, myself. And like, but I'm not. I was a little afraid of that for a little while. But then as but I see like where my parents are, and like my parents aren't. Like if she ends up getting a girlfriend or something at some point, I'm not worried about it. You know, I know my parents are gonna be okay with it. You're not going to be like, and I mean, I'm just saying, like, people can change in that way. I mean, it's not an impossibility. It's not like
it's more likely for them to change when it's someone they know, which is good, I think.
Yeah, that was the whole point of coming out of the closet and being visible back in the
is mainstreaming and stuff, and it does objectively help.
And I think the trans could benefit that too if they wouldn't be so antagonistic and like extreme and trying to give the worst possible representation instead of showing that they can be
it's just
a
one
normal
of those
part
things,
of society if that's what they want. That's certainly what we wanted.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. I mean, like my dad's side of the family, they all know I'm gay. They don't know I'm trans, but like I'll like go around, I'll call myself the F slur in front of them, and it makes them really uncomfortable, which is why I do it.
Yeah, I use that too.
What did you both do?
Yeah, I mean, look, all right. I use it with other gay people because of course I do. But like I use it in front of like conservatives in reference to me because like especially in public, it makes them really if like you're talking to like a homophobe and you use that word on yourself, it makes them really uncomfortable. Because
I use it with the woke. I tell them my pronoun is faggot.
It takes all the power out of it. Like they can't even think it in their head towards you without it holds no power once you. That's why I don't understand why people get so sensitive about language and stuff like that. Like every time you do that, you give the other people power to like.
I've been saying that.
Yeah. I mean, you give so much power to people's words whenever you get.
I don't understand it either. It seems like a generational thing because our generation didn't worry. Like we knew not to do that. Like,
I mean,
words have the power that you give them, and we knew not to give them that
power. For what it's worth, I do believe that part of the reason that I am able to is because of the work that has been done in the past. Sure, I don't think I could. Absolutely. I don't think like if this was like 1960, right? And I called myself an F slur. Like I don't think it would have the same effect then as it. No, yeah, sure. Not. You're right. I don't know. Whatever.
You're right. Back in those days, like you could, if you were in a crowd of
there are certain slurs that I don't want to use on YouTube.
They could have got.
I've used it before. My Twitter name used to be Satanic Faggot. I've used it before.
Based. Yeah, and like.
Come at me, YouTube.
Yeah,
you're talking about you're like using it around your parents and conservatives.
Yeah, and well, not my parents because my parents do not give a shit. Actually, as like wild as it was, my parents are much more chill about it than like my extended family. My dad's side of the extended family is like they're all very they're Church of Christ Christians, so like they're all fucking whack jobs. Anyways, they're cock Christians.
What?
Cock.
That's a new one.
It's Church of Christ.
Oh, yeah. Church of Christ. Okay. I can't remember Church of Christ, the one that doesn't believe in music or something.
No, they believe in music. They believe in it way too fucking much. They'll have like a 4-hour sermon, and like 3.5 of it is singing. Like they will.
Okay. There's one of the.
Do they have rattlesnakes?
There's one of those churches that believes that music in the church, that having music in church is like.
Some of them do. Yeah, it kind of depends on. It's. Some of the Church of Christ aren't really big on music, but like the ones, especially the ones that have a lot of non-white people in them, they think if you were to suggest that they not do music, you would probably get kicked out of the church.
I grew up Baptist, man, so I mean, like,
yeah, no, I did too. I
have a whole set of traumas. Like,
yeah, I grew up Southern Baptist. I know how that goes.
Well, I always my favorite joke growing up, like that I heard it like as a child, and it's always stuck with me was that Catholics or I can't remember. There's something about Catholics since Jews don't recognize the divinity of Christ and Baptists don't recognize each other in the liquor store.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't recognize each other in the liquor store. Yeah, Baptists are kind of wild. There's also the not like not raising your hands up during the worship service, and oh yeah, no, they it's like if you what I can't remember the joke is, but it's like you never see a hand come above a belt line during the worship service.
Yeah, well, that's why Baptists they'll only have sex like laying down because otherwise it's too much like dancing. So
yeah,
because of what? Otherwise,
it's too much like dancing. There have been a number of Catholic and this or not Catholic Baptist.
There's you ever seen the movie Flashdance? I mean, not Flashdance. No, sorry, was not Flashdance. The other one was Kevin Bacon. Footloose.
Footloose.
Yeah.
That's a good. I watched it a few years ago. It held up really well.
Yeah, you know what? Texarkana is like 30 minutes from there. I have been to the town that Footloose is based on. That's a
wow!
And that law is still in place, even though they don't enforce it. That is still a law in that city. Dancing is still illegal in that city.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no. If you've ever been to fucking Searcy, Arkansas is a town that is literally run by its church. Like they. I mean, obviously they have, their prohibition laws. They have laws against people who are unmarried living in the same building. They have oh god, it's so much crazy shit.
You go through small towns and you look at the laws in the books that aren't enforced anymore. It's insane. There was a town I came from that literally there was a law against like driving around like the town square more than 3 times in a row, and literally the reason the law was originally on the books was because people when motor cars became a thing, people used to like drive around there was like the only paved part, so people would drive around in a circle and scare the horses, and so there was a law that was still in the books to say that they could pull you over for.
Oh yeah,
if they wanted to. So I'm just saying, like, there's crazy laws in the books everywhere. So like,
there's a lot of crazy ones. Now there are a lot of like not good. There's a lot of anti-sodomy laws that are still on the books.
There are.
And did you know in Tennessee, you can't be an atheist and hold public office?
They're not supposed to have religious tests for public office.
They're not supposed to. It actually got challenged.
Somebody needs to challenge it.
Well, it did. So one town's in Tennessee did get challenged. However, Tennessee's specific state law over it has not yet been challenged because as of yet there has not been an irreligious person who has.
I'm surprised the Satanic Temple hasn't got that.
Well, I mean, a large part of that is like the amount, like the money for that kind of lawsuit is kind of a big because like that's the kind of thing
they have. That's what they do. They have a team of lawyers and they go around challenging laws, so they have the resources.
I would like to think that they could. They might just think that Tennessee's too lost of a cause, which is dumb, but
they'd contact Lucian and tell him.
Nashville's a pretty liberal city, to be honest, but I guess it's not. I guess not anymore. But it used to be a pretty liberal city. But Nashville.
I'm gonna look it up.
Oh no, Nashville's fine. Nashville's fine.
Well, that's what the Wires based up and everything out now. So maybe it's not as liberal as it used to be. It used to be a pretty liberal city, but it's also a dirty shithole. So like, I mean,
I was about to say I don't really like Nashville.
Still have bans on atheists holding office. This is Snopes. Let's see what they have to say.
All right. I'll broadly believe Snopes.
Yeah, most likely. I have seen.
Not
Snopes get things blatantly wrong. I've just been like, how?
Okay, Tennessee's constitution includes a provision that bars 3 groups from holding office: atheist ministers and those engaging in duels.
Oh God, that's funny.
Efforts are underway to remove this exclusion for ministers, but not for duelists or atheists.
Oh damn! All right, that's actually here's what the Satanic Temple needs to do. They need to specifically make sure that the public's only talking about removing it for duelists, but then remove it for all of them. Actually, be like, I'm a duelist atheist minister, who's going to run for office.
Well, I mean, how can you be a duelist? Just means people that engage in.
It's not enforceable because listen to this: bans on atheists and ministers are now unconstitutional due to Supreme Court rulings in 1961 and 1978.
Oh,
so it's still in their constitution, but it is not legal.
Okay, it's not enforceable. Yeah. There's similar things with like anti-sodomy laws. Also, I don't think are enforceable.
No, they're not enforceable
for a number of reasons. But they still.
I wouldn't want that job.
I mean, what are they going to do? Is the sodomy inquisition going to come around? You know,
Well, I
nobody
think,
expects the sodomy inquisition.
well, part of that was like they just didn't want gay people. They wanted to outlaw. They were trying to outlaw gay people.
I'm just saying.
Well, gay behavior. They can't outlaw people.
Yeah, it's just like it's
Well,
just
sure.
it's just such a weird law, but it's like what I mean. It's like the kind of
Potato,
thing that
potato.
you can only enforce in like a communist Russian Russian type of like
1984 shit.
Yeah, like where everyone's spying into the only way. But how can you can't prove it? Like I mean, like what do you just use it like? Oh, I know he did butt stuff. I know he did.
They'd
have
say that.
Texas versus Lawrence, where they went in his house.
You're right. They did.
Caught him.
I
almost got caught in a car one time. Not sodomy, but making out.
Yeah,
that's just too.
I mean, we did get caught. The cops just didn't.
What? We're not gay. We're just two straight dudes making out. What's the big deal?
Yeah, hell yeah. What you don't make out with your homies?
Well, the tact I used was when we weren't doing anything wrong. Like we're not doing anything wrong. We're just sitting in the car. It was one of the dirt back roads that people would go to park.
Yeah.
And we parked, and then we saw the lights come on behind us. I'm like, oh God. And he's like, what are y'all doing out here? And we're just like sitting in the car.
Drugs. Shit.
And there's nothing he could do. Like there's.
Yeah.
So he's like,
have y'all seen
y'all
that,
need to leave.
Vine?
Y'all can't be out here. And then we drove away.
What'd you say?
Have y'all seen that? There was an old Vine that was like this like femboy guy, and it was like the phone was like him in his like bathroom, like doing himself up in his like femboy stuff, and it's like you heard the knock on the door, and it's like, Steven, what are you doing? And he's like, drugs, shit.
Oh.
There you go.
There's lots of drugs, lots of hardcore drugs in here. Don't worry about it.
Don't look in here. God. Or it's like the more recent one has been what is it? Name one woman, and it's like Hitler. Shit.
Wait, what? Name one woman?
Name one woman, and then you say like Hitler. Shit. Because
I don't get that one.
It's supposed to be ridiculous because it's like you're like, oh, put on the spot, name a woman.
Is it absurdist humor?
Yeah, it's kind of absurdist.
It's a bit absurdist, yeah. It's honestly a lot of modern internet humor leans heavily in absurdism.
That's probably why I don't get it. I don't get memes at all. They mean nothing to me.
I used to for a little while I made memes like for a little while. I ran that Twitter account, stuff like that. So I got in the habit of just learning. I taught myself how to it was actually a challenge for me because like I'm a very long-winded person. So coming with a joke, like one their image and a text, like it was very difficult for me to figure out. But and a lot of my memes were often way too long-winded. But
meme humor is very difficult.
I can't. But
yeah, they post them in the Discords and people will laugh and react to it. And I'm like, what? What am I even looking at? I don't.
Funny. Like, where's the when you're trying to enjoy your complimentary crackers? The old lady says there are 3 objects circling the plane.
I've seen that one. I said one of my favorite ones back when I was running the Twitter account that got popular right around the same time was one of the weirdest ones I think I ever circulated was like the Scooby Doo. It was like they took pictures of like the Scooby Doo movie from behind the scenes, and it was all these like. And it was the actors that were playing the character talking about how Shaggy hasn't even hit a tenth of his power level yet. It was
yeah.
They got really. There's like a deep lore to it that
there is now a deep lore, and part of it's. Did you know there is a Star Wars Shaggy from the Clone Wars, that weird animated show? It's basically Shaggy. It's not actually Shaggy, but like. He looks like Shaggy the Jedi.
You know about Scooby-Doo Shaggy?
Yeah. It's in the Star Wars animated thing. It was actually great. He gets fucking annihilated by Grievous.
The Scooby-Doo movie sucked, and but I cannot deny that Matthew Lillard was a brilliant casting choice. That's the only thing they did right, really. But
he was the perfect
casting. He did Shaggy so well that it was like.
Honestly,
I like Matthew Lillard for that relationship.
Honestly, I kind of want to rewatch those movies very explicitly because of Shaggy.
You know about Scooby-Doo?
Yeah, the live action
Oh
ones.
my god, I hated that. The one with
Ugh.
was it Velma? The one I hated the Velma
Mm.
one.
Oh, the Velma series. So the Velma series was bad. It was very bad. And it wasn't because of like people were like, oh, it's woke. It wasn't because it was the least funny thing. There were no jokes in it. It just wasn't funny.
No,
I mean, I don't care if it's woke if it's funny, but god damn, that was not funny. It was so bad. I tried to watch it. I tried because I was like, anytime I hear a bunch of people like complaining about something like that, to the degree that there's all these videos, all these on conservative channels and everything that were all being like, oh, Velma's the worst thing ever, and I was like, but it's not that bad. I'm gonna watch this because I heard that thing. I heard recent, yeah, it's cute. I heard recent things like that about the Scott Pilgrim show too. The Scott Pilgrim thing. I heard that it was too woke and stuff like that, and I found that completely false. And I find that we watched Indiana Jones like a couple weeks ago, and like that was the same way. I don't see what the fuck people are talking about that. But Velma, oh god, it was so bad. I couldn't get through a whole episode. And
are there any good woke movies? Are any woke movies good? Is there any woke movie you would recommend?
It kind of depends on what you mean by woke. Do you think She-Ra Princesses of Power is woke because it has a bunch of gay characters?
I used to watch it in the 80s.
Oh,
I used to come home from school to watch it because they had that little like wizard man, and you'd have to find him in each cartoon, and I'd come home to try to find the wizard.
The new Netflix show, it has a lot of the same characters, though it's unlike the show. It has a much more cohesive story.
Is it good?
Yes, I think it is.
It's animated or live action?
It's animated.
And my sister and my daughter were watching it. My sister Caroline and my daughter were watching it for a while, so I know that they liked it. So I mean, I'm sure it's fine. I mean, for example, like I guess an example of something that's kind of quote unquote woke to a degree. I watched a movie last night, also called the one I was watching whenever you saw when you tried to message me, Jeff. It's called The Triangle of Sadness.
It's called what?
Triangle of Sadness. It's actually really good. The very last two, like the last 3 seconds of the movie were just like not an ending. Like I just did, like they pissed me off because the movie itself, it tried to end on an ambiguous note whenever the whole movie had been rather unambiguous the whole time.
Oh god, I hate when they do that.
Then suddenly it decides not to have an ending. I hate that kind of crap. But still, the movie up to that point, it very much is like it's kind of like a cross between like it's the first half it's set in a cruise ship where like the captain is played by Woody Harrelson. He's basically he believes in socialism really hardcore, and he ends up having like this long drunken conversation with this passenger who's this he was a Russian who was actually a hardcore capitalist, and they had like all these like these like but their drunken conversation ends up to like I can't remember what happens exactly, but basically everyone ends up on a deserted island, and then it turns into like this kind of like Lord of the Flies-ish type thing among a bunch of rich people that don't know how to survive.
Oh, that's fun.
It's kind of you would like it. I think it has a lot. It has a lot of good ideas. I didn't expect it to be as entertaining as it was. It was actually very funny and very entertaining. I think both. I don't know if you'd like it, Jeff, but I know you'd like it, Lev. But except for the last 2 seconds, it's like one of those movies. There's been a few movies like that I've seen in my life that like is so good right until like the last shot. I'm just like, why the fuck would you end like on that?
Yeah,
like that's not an ending. You're trying to like piss people off or something. Like I feel like there's so many movies that kind of ruin themselves that last shot. I hate that crap. But anyway.
Yeah, it's ending shit that's frustrating.
I mean, endings are hard. Don't be wrong. I know endings are very difficult to write. I know for a fact, but
endings are hard.
They are difficult, but I mean, there's a lot of things that are difficult. Oh God. Okay, so I've been on a kick where I've been watching a bunch of video essays on video games, specifically on Bethesda games, because
Peach Cobblers.
We watch that stuff all the time.
I've not seen Peach Cobblers. I need to. The specific ones I've been watching.
I'm going to take this opportunity to go pee because this is not my topic.
No, yeah, he's done several. He has a love-hate relationship with Todd Howard too. So yeah.
Oh, everyone does. I mean, I think. Well, some people have a hate relationship with, which I can't exactly fault people for. Just given Skyrim's existence, but I mean. Yeah, I've been watching the Patrician. He does like these like 20-hour breakdowns.
I haven't watched him.
God,
it's going to be a little too long for me, but
yeah, no, it definitely is. But I like it because he goes like really in depth into stuff, and specifically his thing on Skyrim, because Skyrim is a game that like I have tried to replay over and over. And I recently
Me
just tried to
too.
replay it. And honestly, the thing that gets me is the combat. Obviously, like the fact that it's a bad RPG is another big factor. Like I can stand Oblivion, right? Oblivion has shit combat, but is also like a passable RPG. But like Skyrim isn't even a passable RPG. Even if you like overload the thing with fucking mods, it like is the combat is just so bad and so samey.
The combat is not that good in it. I guess Bethesda doesn't have good combat in it. I've never gotten into any Bethesda game that much. I've tried so hard. I didn't think I'd ever get into a FromSoft game for that matter until Elden Ring came out. I mean, I tried a little Dark Souls and stuff in the past, but I tried so hard with the Bethesda games. I tried to play Fallout 3 and 4. Like, I put hours into the.
Have you played New Vegas though?
Yes, I have.
Okay,
because New Vegas is better, but I still get bored for some reason. I don't know why.
That's
it doesn't
fair.
it doesn't scratch the itch in my brain that I need for some reason to keep going. But it's like some of it's just the opening sections of it. I find the opening sections to be like they don't draw me in.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to skip past all the opening stuff and just get to like something later on, like where it starts getting like more interesting. Because I guess like the opening section of those games are so slow and so like drawn out. Like I just. And I get decision anxiety too. I get real bad decision anxiety because there's all the different skill trees and all the things like that. Like the one Bethesda-esque game that I got through. Actually, I still didn't finish it all the way. I once I got close to the end of it, I knew the ending was coming. I just stopped playing with Cyberpunk because Cyberpunk specifically, like it didn't even matter. No matter what I put a point into. And skill tree wise, it didn't seem like it made any difference at all. So like, it didn't give me. I lost the decision anxiety. But with like Fallout like that, like your decisions make so much difference in terms of like how you level up and stuff. And I get too anxious and I just end up like stop playing. I was like, I don't even know what I want to choose. I don't know what any of these things mean. I don't know what it's going to be. And like I just stopped playing. So
yeah, no, that's fair. I was reminded because he had a section on like all the side quests. So he like goes over all the different kinds of quests. Here's the main quest, here's the Civil War quest, here's all the like faction quests, the Daedric quests, and the side quests. And I was reminded, like, when I started playing that game, it took me a solid year before I even touched the main quest of Skyrim. Like, I spent the entire time doing all these cool side quests because, like, the stuff with the like 2 quests with the Forsworn, all the stuff in Markarth, that stuff is so cool and so interesting. And then the rest of the game is so boring and bad.
Yeah, the main story of Skyrim is so boring. That's and then but it also at least it doesn't antagonize you like some games do. Like annoy you about doing the main quest thing. I hate that. Like that will turn me off of a game so fast whenever it like won't stop bugging you about doing the main thing.
Yeah.
Whenever you're not interested in doing the main thing.
Especially in like a Bethesda game, which is like those kind of games are very much so, hey, here's this open world, go do what you want. That's how they're supposed to be. Oblivion is like that. It's, hey, here's this big open world, do what you want. There's a bunch of quests. Here's this main quest that you can do, but like you don't have to. It's one of those things that I like. I also recently started replaying Mass Effect, and like those games are fucking perfect. I love the Mass Effect games. The ending for Mass Effect 3 is bad, but like everything else, Mass Effect 2 is great. Mass Effect 2 is great.
Yeah, just because it's so antithetical and everything else. But yeah, Mass Effects are good. I played through them all. I beat them all back whenever they were new. I haven't been able to replay them or anything like that.
Did you play Andromeda though? Did you play Mass Effect Andromeda? I know, I do too. I love it. I think to
me, I think the original Mass Effects were like Star Wars, but I think Andromeda is more like Star Trek.
Very much so.
It's like more diplomatic, and you get to like go and like it feels like playing a real Star Trek game to me, and like there's never been a real Star Trek game, so I actually like it. But like most people didn't like it. I even liked Dragon Age Origins. I didn't like the first one, but I like the most
Inquisition. Yeah, I've heard good things about Inquisition. I need to play it. I've only played Origins, and I love Origins. I love those like spreadsheet games, spreadsheet RPGs. I love those kinds of ones. They're so much fun. They provide so much I guess variety. And they're also actual RPGs instead of pretending to be like it with all the Bethesda games.
No, yeah, I wish I tried to play Starfield's the last game I actually tried to play recently, and I couldn't even.
Yeah,
I couldn't. I got 4 hours into it. I think I put 4 hours in Starfield. I got to like the main thing where you finally get like your ship and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't. And since I realized that everything was done through fast travel, and it's just like, I don't know. I had no desire to keep going.
I don't want to play a space game where I just have to fast travel everywhere, and like if I want to play a good space game, I'll just go play No Man's Sky. Like,
I used to play it in VR. I used to play No Man's Sky in VR, like on with my computer, so like that. That was pretty cool.
No Man's Sky is a very good game. I have seen people play it in VR, and I wish I had the VR set up so I could do it, because that does seem like it would be like a really, really good game. Because it's
have you ever done it?
VR stuff? You play Beat Saber?
Yeah. One of my one of my friends when I was back in Memphis, I would just like,
it's so fun.
Yeah. I was
Beat Saber's my favorite.
I was their adopted Gen Z. They were like a millennial couple, and they adopted the Gen Z kid. I just hung out at their house all the time.
We used to have like, there was a kid that used to in our neighborhood that that we contracted to help like with like something in our yard once, and then he came over just like hang out, because I had like at the time it was like the Wii was still the newest thing, and I had a Wii, and he wanted to come over and play like and I figured out how to hack the Wii, and so I had all like the emulators on it for all the old NES games, and like.
And we asked him to watch the house while we were out of town.
Yeah, that's what it was. We had him to house it while we were out of town once.
He was like, "Will you buy me a case of beer and let me play
Zelda
as much as I want while I'm gone?" And I was like, "Hell yeah! Buy you a case of beer and you can play Zelda for like a week."
In Minecraft.
In Minecraft, yeah.
We didn't buy a minor beer.
No, that you're talking about Minecraft beer. It's a fake video game thing.
What's up with her?
Like huge dreadlocks.
Yeah, he was a good kid. It was an interesting. We were basically millennials. I mean, I'm technically a millennial. I'm more. I identify with Gen X, but I am literally on the cusp. Like the month and year I was born in is where they consider the millennial generation. So.
Same. I was I'm 1996, so like that is the cutoff year for Gen Z. I am the literal youngest millennial / oldest Gen Z possible.
What's the cutoff?
1996.
1983. What does that make me?
You're a millennial. You're solidly a millennial. I am like my cutoff. The cutoff for Gen X is like March of '81, and I'm April of '81. So
that's what's say.
Millennial.
Nah, millennials are cool.
They're like your sister. She's cringy.
Well, she is a late stage millennial, so that's why.
Okay, yeah, she's almost as millennial. That's fine. I'm a late stage. I'm the latest stage millennial possible, so that's fine. It works. I'm whichever one I want to be. Whichever one gives me more cred with the people I'm talking to.
And I guess the next generation, I call it, they're saying that's Generation Alpha now, which
it's
means
Alpha.
After that, I mean, like no one wants to be part of Generation Beta.
Be little betas.
I was like, they're gonna change like Generation Sigma or Omega or something. Because no one's gonna want to be Generation Beta.
Sticking out your.
Yeah.
I wanna be your Sigma. You're so skibbity. You're so. God, get that stuck in my head every time I hear the word Sigma.
Oh, is it a song?
Yeah, it's a stupid meme song. The sticking out.
The Red song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard it before. Yeah. The Riz thing is that's one of those I didn't see coming. Like I heard that term like for like a solid like month before I even bothered trying to look it up. I was kind of thinking it was gonna be like Fleek, like on Fleek, you know, it's gonna disappear.
It makes sense. It's Riz, charisma.
Yeah, no,
it's actually one of the most like reasonable, weird little fucking meme things.
Yeah, it is.
Like you can actually intuit what it means.
For some reason, the way it was used was always so abstract. I couldn't intuit it out of context.
It does because it gets used as like a verb and stuff, and I don't rizzing people up, you know.
That's how I get people like he's all rizzed up or something like that. I'm like, I mean, I thought it was like some form of like revved. or something like that, where they use it like, and then it wasn't until I heard somebody say like, so there's somebody talking about Riz, and somebody said charisma, and I was like, oh fuck, why didn't I see that? I'm usually really good at picking up on context clues for language, but I did not get that one. I think it's hilarious when we have like meme language like on fleek though that like means nothing.
It means absolutely zero things.
Random nonsense. I think that's I'm all for that. I'm all for just creating new words that mean nothing.
or gyat. Like honestly, gyat.
Yeah, I haven't heard that one.
It's you're like sticking out your butt. Like it's your gyat.
Oh, that means I did not realize that one.
Yeah, I don't know why, but that's what it means.
Okay. Right.
Also, every time you say Ohio, you're supposed to say gyat after it. Ohio, gyat.
Because that weird Ohio meme about like.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like something like I can't remember what the meme was about Ohio not existing or something like that or something.
There's a lot of memes about Ohio. The not existing one is a big one. It being like this weird eldritch place of strange weirdness is also another one.
I think it probably is.
I mean, no, it is. I have family from Ohio. It is. I've been to Ohio plenty of times. It's a fucking weird place.
Lots of corn there, and there's always there's children in those corn. So.
Yeah, the children of the corn. Yes.
Many blonde children in the corn.
There's also apparently that's like a thing in like Oregon too, which I get. Recently my polycule and I we watched the entirety of Gravity Falls, which by the way also great show. Yeah, fantastic show. I had
a bunch of Gravity Falls stuff. So.
Yes, I do.
I had no idea that was like a big thing. All I knew was Portland is fucking weird and.
Oh, good. It's the Pacific Northwest, okay?
Yeah, that's
It's the Twin Peaks of cartoons. It really is. Yeah. Children's cartoons anyway.
Honestly, like the finale made me think it wasn't a kid's cartoon. Like, holy fuck.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things that to me it's kind of sad about. I mean, like the dude that created Gravity Falls also was good friends with Justin Roiland and stuff like that. And like they both did voices and stuff for each other, and like then they canceled Justin Roiland for what, as far as I can tell, it was nothing that he got completely acquitted for, and now he has like he's persona non grata the entirety of. He's a weird guy. Yeah, I mean, he had some weird text messages, but I think everybody does. I'm pretty sure. I don't really know that means feel the text, but
yeah,
like everyone I see, like I have like weird, like they feel like uncontextualized text messages with, like every time that there's like news about that, I just like I don't know, I can't help roll eyes and tune out. Yeah, it's just like it's like here it comes again. Like, here comes another like wave of like bullshit that no one will ever be able to fully understand or contextualize what happened.
No, I do. It's broadly I don't really like that kind of like drama bullshit stuff because that's how it always starts, right? Is like this all like weird drama, and then it like expands into like, oh, let's dig into this person's fucking shit.
Like the 2 weeks when everyone was obsessed with Jonah Hill and his ex-girlfriend, I was just like God.
It's like, look, yes, okay, Jonah Hill is fucking cringe, okay.
I guess. I mean, like they're both cringe as far as I can tell.
No, they are. I think Jonah Hill's possessiveness is, even for a monogamous person, a little cringe, but like it's not like he's a bad person. He's just a little fucking cringe. Like,
yeah,
everyone's a little cringe sometimes. Come on,
everybody's cringe.
Oh, what's that weird song? Everyone's racist.
Everyone's a little bit
racist sometimes. Doesn't mean we go around committing hate crimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We both we lived there in Vegas when Avenue Q was playing there, and like we've listened. We never had to see it there. I've seen tape of it anyway. And we used to have the soundtrack. We had the soundtrack in our car. Like we know that whole musical background.
God. I've only heard that one song, which was actually like a very funny bit. Like I was expecting it to not be as funny as it was, but it really was like funny and clever.
Funny, it's true and insightful.
Yeah, no. It's really clever. That's what I like about it, because like they talk. Okay, the fact that they mention like Polish racism, like racism against Polish people, is like very, very, very useful for their case, because it's like, yeah, like you could talk about, like, yeah, you want to talk about like real racism, you know, like I know people who are racist against Polish people. Now those people tend to be like 80 years old.
And it's really hard to understand why. Like
yeah.
The songs are framed of like, if everyone would just admit that we're all racist just a little bit, then maybe we'd all just get along. I think that's a good point. You know.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who like have a lot of biases that you know, sort of get into that kind of like racism, but like
I'm not racist.
You know, musical, just like drop a line or something. I probably know it.
It's not about that, Jeff. It's about how like broadly, more so like racism is just a very
just stereotyping.
Common, stereotyping more so than like that's a very common thing.
Like hateful racism. It's just like it's like the song is like, everyone's a little bit racist. Okay, everyone's a little bit racist. I don't know. Today.
Why can't we?
It's really.
I think everyone's a little bit tribal, and everybody has in-group, out-group preferences.
Well, yeah, but like
in the context of a show,
it's not always race.
They're like Sesame Street puppets too. It's like they're like a children's
song.
That
probably explains why I don't get any of it.
But it's like the whole Avenue Q is it's an adult.
Oh yeah, I remember they had that show in Vegas, right? Avenue Q.
Yeah.
I tried to watch them then. I didn't get it.
There's one where like Bert and Ernie, but like Ernie's the one that's not gay and Bert is, and like, and he's telling me, so if you were gay, it'd be,
that'd be okay.
Or there's my favorite song in there is like that what do you do with a degree in English?
God, Canuck. I don't think that like there's nothing wrong with biases or prejudices, but there often can be things wrong with biases or prejudices. That's the thing.
No, hang on, because when you say wrong, you're moralizing something that's just innate to human behavior.
Yes.
If we all have them, then how can you? Who decides what's like? There's something wrong with them.
Gotcha.
Well, hang on. You're talking about something that's innate to human nature, right? Right. So, I mean, murder and rape is innate to human nature.
I'm talking specifically about the topic at hand, which is biases and prejudices.
But like, what I'm contending is that your logic also applies to things like murder and rape, which seem to be.
No, murder and rape are acts. Bias and prejudices are like perceptual. So how can you moralize?
No. They are perceptual until they become like, okay, so a prejudice, I would argue, is not just like, if something is a prejudice, that is specifically like an act. That's a thing that is a bias that you're acting on.
No, it's not. That would be discrimination when you actively take an act against someone based on one of their characteristics. Prejudice is just your mind making a certain judgment.
I mean, you can overcome it.
But if we all have it, like, yeah, anybody can overcome it if they want to. But who are you to tell somebody else what prejudice they have to overcome if we all have them? Because someone can easily turn around and say the same thing about yours.
I'm a person. Well, yeah, sure they can. They would have
like,
to.
Why not recognize that we all have prejudice and biases and quit freaking out about everybody's?
That's what the song's about. That's what that song is literally about.
Well, I guess I'm making the song's point, and y'all are arguing against it.
No, I mean,
listen to the song more and internalize it.
I'm not making the point that like you just have taken issue with like
you said sometimes they can be wrong, and that's what started
they can be sometimes prejudices and biases can be morally wrong.
That's like saying somebody's hair color or eye color can sometimes be wrong. It's just
I do not believe that those are analogous.
Acts or moral. Like, you can evaluate an act as ethical or moral, not something like a character, like just a trait.
I don't think.
How do you defining like a bias? Like give me an example of a bias that you're talking about. Yeah,
like what we were talking about, racism.
You're talking about like towards like
in-group, out-group preferences and biases. Okay. Yeah. Well, come and talk to me about it, Canuck.
Jeff always goes out on a way limb, and it's me.
Everybody has taste and preferences, and that doesn't make you a taste or preference is not wrong.
Taste.
You used to say that about gay people.
You're talking like sexuality or
don't
something like that.
impute a motive to me. You don't. Why would you think I'm doing this on purpose? Come on.
No, I don't know. Yeah, why would you do that?
I don't think he's doing it on purpose. I think he.
You don't think I really? You don't think I really believe that biases and preferences are morally neutral, and I'm just taking this position to cause controversy? I was letting them talk about the song and everything else for.
Yeah, I know.
Like
forever.
A while. Like, why would I just suddenly take this moment to start manufacturing a position that I don't believe in?
Yeah, I don't think Jeff's manufacturing.
Well, I see we disagree. I don't think tastes and preferences are a moral category.
No, I don't think me or Liv actually understood your taste and preferences. Like myself, I thought you were talking about like
biases.
Yeah,
prejudice.
I don't think those are moral categories either, especially if we all have them.
Well, they regardless of whether or not we all have them, they can be moral categories. They can be things that we can
I disagree that they can. I think acts are.
Well, I thought you said before that you didn't believe in people having like instinctual bias type thing. Like if you have something that like you get like a kind of like like you see somebody that's like you see somebody like a burqa or something like that, and it makes you think of like terrorists like that. You have like this like like this jump for a second or something like that. You didn't believe that you thought that things like that were always conscious. Like wouldn't that be?
Yeah. I'm not making any claim about the consciousness or unconsciousness of them at all. I'm just saying we all have them. They're normal, they're natural, and they're not moral categories.
They can be moral categories, is my position.
No, if you take an act, if you don't give somebody a job because they have a burqa on, that is an act of discrimination. But just having a reaction or an aversion to people with burqas, or just an alienation in general of people with burqas.
Wait, hang on. Having an aversion is an act.
No, it's not. It's a reaction.
Okay. Hang on. Let's break down.
An act is something that you do.
Hang on.
An act is something that you do. Like there's a will behind an act. You will an action.
Hang on, Jeff. Can you spell the word reaction? And explain to me what word is in the word reaction and how a reaction is not a kind of.
Did you hear the part about having a will and intent behind it?
I think you can.
Biases are reflexive.
Biases can be reflexive. I don't think all biases are necessarily reflexive.
They are, unless somebody consciously, like, I don't think you
can consciously create a bias. You can consciously create a bias in your mind. Like, I don't think all biases are consciously created, but you can. You absolutely.
Well, I don't know many people that go out and seek to consciously create a bias.
Sure,
I'm talking about the ones that we just acquire.
You do agree that a bias can be a conscious decision, right?
I don't know. I don't think that's relevant to anything I'm talking about, though.
Well, but I think
it's such an edge case.
Sure, but you're talking about like whether it's possible or impossible, and I'm just saying that
Knut thinks we're talking past each other, and he usually has an eye for that. I think you're bringing in things to make your point, which is not my point at all, which is irrelevant to what I'm saying, and you do tend to do that, like bring in these little edge cases to shift the conversation in a different direction.
I'm not trying to shift the conversation. I'm just trying to, because like you make these definitive statements, like I do sometimes too. I'm not saying I'm free from this either. I make definitive statements all the time too, but you call me out on it, and I'm just calling you out on it when you make.
Okay, what is the statement that bothers you that you call me out
on? That you cannot make moral judgments on people's biases and prejudices. I do believe.
Okay, well, I think you're wrong.
Well, okay, let me ask this: like, if someone has bias or prejudice, right? That's internal. That's something they're internalized. They're conscious of it. They are aware of it. They're not. It's not something they consciously create. They're aware that it's there and exists. And when they have that that mental reaction to something, they never act on it. They never act out in any kind of way that would suggest the bias is there externally. Then how is it immoral?
I think he's talking to you.
Then it wouldn't be.
Okay, I think because I think that basically I think that clears up the distinction thing.
That was my whole. That's what I said from the beginning. That acts are the things that can be evaluated as moral or not moral.
But people broadly
You have
not
to act. You have to like intentionally take an act.
Yeah, but well, not necessarily.
And then you can say that act was wrong, or that act was this or that, but you can't say that about something like a taste or preference or.
I'm not talking about taste or preference. In-group bias is.
I mean, you can.
Broader.
You would be beside the point. It would have no relevance.
In-group bias is a.
If I told you I like pistachio ice cream, you say, "Well, that's wrong."
I love pistachio ice cream.
God, I hate pistachio
I wouldn't
ice
care. That wouldn't change my taste for it, and it wouldn't affect. Like it's not a moral thing to what flavor of ice cream you like or don't like. Or if I say I don't like pickles, and you say, "Well, that's wrong," or "That can be wrong,"
I love.
It would have no meaning for me.
Well, no. A prejudice or a bias can't. I do believe we can make moral statements on prejudice and biases because people necessarily take actions based on. But people take actions based on their biases and preferences and prejudices. Do you agree?
They do. They largely do, but they don't have to.
People use this against pedophilia too. Like people use this against pedophilia. And I think if somebody has an attraction for minors and they don't act on it, they haven't done anything wrong.
No, but pedophilia, but the attraction is still not good because desires or not desires.
I'm a Satanist. You're not going to convince me to moralize desire, and I'm a Kingster.
That's sorry. That is why I.
So when you take an act on it, then that's up for moral evaluation. If you're a cannibal and you actually go out and eat somebody, then we can talk morality.
Yeah, but
it would be better if you didn't have the instinct or the desire to eat somebody. It might be better if you didn't, but I guess, in itself as some sort of like weird mental like type thing, if it's never acted upon, it in itself has no moral weight unless it is acted upon. I think that's the point. It's like the innate
because you're condemning a person for something they are, not for something they do.
Oh, here she comes. Oh, she's gonna get eaten.
Well, I don't even know if that's really something they are. It's something they have maybe an inclination towards. It doesn't mean they are that thing. It doesn't mean they are a cannibal.
Biases are ontological. They're not ethical. And so you're condemning themselves for something ontological and not for an act that can be evaluated as ethical or not. It's something innate and fixed.
Right. It's kind of like whenever someone someone gets canceled over something they said that like someone interprets as being like racist or homophobic or something like that, or like and this that even like what they said was vague and like
it's the same argument that trans people use coincidentally.
Right. It's like this thing where they friends like a thought crime like we just know that you're actually one of the bad.
That's why I wouldn't say it was wrong to be trans. Like the state of being trans is not something that's right or wrong. It's just what they are.
It's just a thing. Yeah.
Okay. I think I see your perspective, and I think I agree broadly. I would have to think about this more.
I know sometimes it takes people a while to figure out how right I am about things. So
that's true. Fair, valid. I will indeed inflate your ego on this, Jeff. You are correct.
Based.
Just know that every time your ego gets inflated, mine gets inflated 10 times when I'm not on stream.
Mine stays inflated.
That's fair.
It doesn't get inflated. It's always there.
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
But I know this goes all the way back to Socrates, Aristotle. Like I know all this from philosophy class.
I'm just stuck up.
I'm not.
Hey, Juniper. I wonder what biases and preferences she's gonna have for this YouTube every day.
I don't know. So far, it just make her like being more like
anti-capitalist baby.
Yeah, let's go.
Clap for him. Clap.
I don't care if being anti-capitalist is one thing. Not being pro-capitalist, I'm fine with. I mean, not being like super pro-capitalist. I have no issue with that because like I'm not super pro-capitalist. I just believe that it's the current way things are done.
Yeah, it's the way.
You know, I mean, like as long as
she may be our next billionaire. You never know.
I don't care if she's gay or trans, as long as she's not woke. Then I gotta kill her.
Then you gotta, Then that's a gotta done with it.
It's like, I mean, it's not about, you know, it's not a choice at that point. It's an honor killing type thing, and I
that's
feel good about it. But I mean, it's just the way it is, you know.
Yeah, that is how it be sometimes. Oh damn! I should have gotten that boat.
Yeah, I guess we're gonna. I guess I gotta go. We gotta go and get dinner or some sort of made. So, because I got mama and babies here.
Do you want to watch some more of that show later?
Yeah, let's watch more of the show later. We're gonna watch that video. What was that video we're supposed to look at?
The James Lindsay one.
I don't know if I started, like I started.
I'm gonna watch it on my own to see if I need to watch it, because he said I only really need to watch the first 20 or 30 minutes.
I wish he would tell us the 20 minutes we should watch, because like I don't ever want to watch an hour. I've tried to watch videos.
You can watch it on high speed. I can't take the cartoon voice, but you can watch it on high speed.
Oh, I have to watch things on high speed. Every video I watch is on at least 1.5, if not.
Oh my god! How your poor brain. How do you do it?
I literally can't focus on anything that I'm not listening to at like 2 times speed.
I get so distracted. I can't even focus.
I have to. If I don't, I get distracted if I don't. Like, now I like listen to videos on 1 time speed and they just sound so slow. I can do it when I'm like having a conversation with somebody. I can have like a normal. I can have like oh no, it's not.
We're all talking at 1 speed right now. We've been doing it for hours.
If you adjust,
well, Chris might be at 1.5.
If you start listening to something at faster speeds and like you get used to it, because I have done it before, where you get used to it and you go back to listening to regular speed, it feels like you're listening to something in slow motion. It's bizarre. But like I just don't.
Except for like TV shows and movies, I can watch TV shows and movies, like like that kind of media. I can listen to at normal speeds. But like if I'm like watching
and stuff, yeah, I get that.
Podcasts.
Does that happen in public? Like when you're out and you hear two people having a conversation, does it sound slow to you?
No, with like conversations, especially if I'm like actually listening to it, it's very specifically like it's like the kind of YouTube that I consume. I have that kind of content, like, because it's normally like podcast / video essay content. I have to listen to it at like 2 times speed. I can't.
How can you take Vosh on high speed? That's not healthy for you.
You know what's worse is I'll be listening to his stream, and he listens to stuff on like usually 1.25 or 1.5 speed. So like and whenever
more, yeah.
And it's like
Desi does the same shit. I accidentally set like a Desi video once like 1.5 speed, so I was just trying to get through. I was trying to find a part of it, and then but part of the clip was him looking something else at faster speed, and then it creates like this it starts create I think if you do enough time, it creates some sort of time warp that's gonna it's gonna create some sort of like dimensional portal or something like that. I don't know.
No, I think
at some point someone's gonna react to a react thing enough times, enough layers where like reality itself.
I think actually completely unironically, I do think that it has something to do with, because I've only like started doing that ever since I've quit weed, and I think that has something to do with like, because I never used to do it when I smoke. Pedocami fuck is bad enough on his own. Oh, okay. I'm surprised he calls him a commie. Most people just call him a liberal.
Yeah, he's not. He's
not enlightened liberalism.
He's not even a liberal. He's just a capitalist, really. He's a grifter, is what he is. I don't believe Vosh believes some goddamn thing he says. At least, like, I mentioned like that thing I said in Discord last night, and like at least I'll give Thoughtslime this one thing. At least I think he's dumb enough to actually believe it.
That is fair. Thoughtslime is very stupid.
Yeah.
I have watched some of their videos, and they're just not good.
I mean, I don't think he's a grifter. I think he's just It's
a lot like, I think there's a number of like, I guess also like campists or like tankies who aren't grifters. They're just, they're not like evil. They're not like bad. They're just stupid.
Just dumb.
They're just dumb. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
which is something that I always have to remind myself. You know, I tend to I always gravitate towards, and I tend to people that I spend time talking to and stuff are not dumb people in general, and I'm without anything. But see, I have a bias against dumb people. I really do. And
But you know what?
My life very quickly, and like when dumb people are around, I have like a revulsion to it that I can't even.
I have a bias against stupid people too. I guess there's a difference between dumb and stupid, and I have a bias against stupid people. But I used to think that about the Christians too, that because they swallow this ideology and it made them dumb. But I don't think that about them anymore, and I actually see value with them, and I like them because most of them seem good people and they're pleasant to be around. I can't transfer that to the woke somehow, even if I give the woke some amount of sympathy for being the victims of this ideology, and that's why they're dumb, or their lack of intelligence allowed the ideology. I still don't like them as people. I don't feel the same way about them that I feel about the Christians. They just seem hateful, hostile, miserable people.
I mean, it just kind of depends.
They bring me down when I'm around them.
It depends on how you do. I mean, like at that point, I feel like we're defining woke as just people that are hateful.
So it's something more than just their dumbness. There's something else about their personality, maybe, or
usually, yeah. I do think that's the case. At least for me, in my specific case, I tend to.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say though, like for example, like there's this guy that kept whenever that girl used to live here, she used to like I guess because he had drugs or something like that. I don't know why, but she used to let this guy like come by the house and he annoyed the crap out of me. I just couldn't stand him. And after she put her on our bus back home, he kept coming by the house every now and then. And seriously, like I was flat out just like I don't want you to come here. Don't come to my house anymore. Don't be here. And it wasn't because he was like he was like a malicious person or anything. He might have been, I don't know, but he was just so stupid though that I couldn't take it. And like I feel almost a little bad about it. I feel like I was actually kind of overly mean to him to a degree. I think I
no, that's in group out group bias. See, yeah, sometimes it can be a good thing.
But it's not based upon like any. It's not like he could at the same time he could actually probably become a smarter person if he wanted to. I don't think it's not like he wasn't mentally handicapped. He was just very dumb. About everything. I mean, he was just like he was like a cartoon character, man. Like he didn't seem like a real person. He's like the kind of dumb that you don't really imagine being real until you're confronted with it, and then you're just like, and then so I filter that kind of stuff out so much that I forget sometimes that most people are just very stupid.
Yeah, that's
and it's not even like there's so like you should never attribute to maliciousness what you can attribute to ignorance or stupidity. It's very true. Because it's so much more ignorance and stupidity than it is maliciousness most of the time. But anyway, but this has been a really good conversation, you guys. I really enjoyed it. I guess you guys keep going. I mean, obviously, I'm not telling you to end this.
Yeah, no, I'm probably gonna have to.
No, we can end it, and we'll be back tomorrow at the same time, and then we'll probably do a movie discussion tomorrow night.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll message you when I get back, and if you want to, and you're welcome to come watch to watch the Dragula show with us too, if you want to.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm mostly going to depend on what I end up doing tonight and tomorrow night. So we'll see.
You know what it is? It's like RuPaul's Drag Race, but with like horror drag or something. I don't really know what to call it.
That might be appealing. I'm not a huge fan of like drag shows, but if it's like a specific themed, I might be into that. I like theme stuff.
More like it's kind of fascinating from how garish it is, and like it's like. It's kind of like I kind of have a weird fascination with it because of like how bizarre it is. Every time I'm watching it, I feel like I can't believe this is actually on television. Like it's so weird and like it kind of like it kind of seems like they kept like stacking it. It's sort of like Project Runway. They just kept stacking on like weird like quirks onto this format until it turns into this other thing where it's almost like some sort of like weird like Dadaist like weird like inverted reflection of itself.
Okay. You know? that does actually sound interesting. I might check that out. Huh.
All right. Well, anyway, yeah, it's really fun conversation, guys. Really enjoyed it.
Anyways,
I'm gonna go and get this little kid and her mama something to eat, and I will see you guys later.
Yep. I'll let y'all go. Be well.
Oh yeah, okay. Bye everybody. Let's see. If baby was around then, it was also your parents' instincts kicking in. Okay, well, that's today. We'll be back tomorrow doing the same thing. Have a good day, and we'll probably watch Ordinary People tomorrow evening, and then do a discussion of it in the evening. We'll still be here too, but we'll do a second stream in the evening, and it'll be an opportunity to talk about narcissism, I think, as well, and mental health. So you can show up for that too. Okay, let me find my song. And Canuck, good to see you. I look forward to the day where you can come on and talk more. Okay, take care. We'll see you tomorrow.